Alrighty.
And welcome everybody to Mac Yak number 55 now. So say hi everybody.
55.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, 55. And we have a guest in tonight, so we're going to welcome Charlie in. So say hi, Charlie.
Hi, I'm Charlie from the very small YouTube channel Master Gecko 4. It's mainly just a vintage Mac focused channel where I specialize in older Macs. And just recently I did a stream where I failed an attempt to try and replace some PRAM batteries in a Mac 2. And I think Steve was there, and then Greg was there for a moment, and then Jay was there for a bit, and then Bruce also showed up.
Hey, I was there for most of
We
the
have an
time.
echo issue.
Oh,
Again?
nope, I know
Again?
why, because Charlie. Never mind. We got it's
course it
fixed.
is.
We always blame the guest.
Yes,
See a pattern here?
because
That's the way.
yes, should be gone now.
Continue.
I see that Justin's telling us that his clock is chiming. Just throw back to last week.
All right.
All right, guys. So tonight we got a whole bunch of stuff going on. But first, I'm gonna throw it over to Steve. You had a little adventure this past couple of days. So you want to tell us about it?
Oh, hold on,
Oh,
hold
what?
on. I think the echo was bad enough that nobody heard Justin's intro.
Yes, let him do his intro.
Charlie.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, I'm Charlie from the very small YouTube channel Master Gecko 4. I mainly prioritize in older and vintage Macs from like the late 80s, early 90s, stuff like that, and maybe even some newer stuff every once in a while. And recently I did a stream where I attempted to replace the soldered PRAM batteries in a Mac 2, where I actually failed, and it went on for like maybe 1 or 2 hours, and never really got anywhere. So then it just turned into a Q&A. So not much to say about that.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, the recap was a fail, but the fail does teach you important lessons. So
Yeah.
don't feel bad about
Not
it.
to do it that way again,
Yeah.
right? All right. So we're gonna throw it over to Steve, and he's gonna share his little adventure he just had.
It was a fun drive. So recently,
I'll be right back,
I got
guys.
talking. All right. So recently, I got talking to Mike, and he had to move some of his or all of his machines, and so I decided to take a trip to help him out, and we had a bit of a meetup at his Mac Shack there. So what was nice about that is I got to say hello to Mike again, of course, but we also got to look at a bunch of old computers and crap, which is right up my alley. And I think you have a photo or a few photos. You want to put one or two up while
Actually,
Hey,
I did not have those prepared, so I apologize for that.
out there.
It's like we're new at this. Episode 55.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at this.
Hey, I didn't prepare that stuff because it wasn't in the topic thing saying photos are available.
Yes,
all
it
right,
is.
don't worry about it. Anyway, I will put them in the chat or something after, during the stream or whatever. But anyway,
Or just put them up on Discord too.
yeah, I could do that. But so essentially, Mike needed some help moving some stuff, and it was great to see him. I got some goodies that Mike probably was just going to toss out: an old monitor, an old TV, some iMac parts, which was very cool. He was very gracious enough to give me a Mac 9500, which I have to play around with because that's one I did not have, and it's very tempting because it has a lot of cards and inputs and outputs on that thing. So thank you, Mike. That was very kind of you.
You're quite welcome.
I guess you paid him a decent amount for all that garbage because he just upgraded his internet.
I paid him in hard backbreaking labor. How about that?
So was that your truck that you had there, Mike or Steve?
That's Mike.
No, it's my truck.
Oh, okay.
I don't own the
Yeah.
truck.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the truck officially has no straight body panels left. since I hit a pole on Thursday or on Tuesday with it.
So Steve, in the chat there, you never answered my question about you had too much F and something. Because
Huh?
you had a live
I
you had
did
a
not.
live photo there. It was a live photo, so you were saying something as you were taking a picture of the truck bed.
Oh. Oh, I have
Is
no
that
idea
what
the
you were
heck I was-
talking about?
See,
You were
yeah,
not making
exactly.
any sense.
I
dude.
had no idea what you're talking about. I
Me
thought you were
neither.
responding to something
I
way
didn't
up.
either.
Yeah.
No.
I think he was trying to say that I have too many effing pros.
Yeah, there we go.
Sounds
Is
about
that what
right.
you said?
It
Because-
was probably too many effing PCs.
Ah, because
Yeah,
I was wondering
Sure.
because it's a live photo, and so you were saying something, but it got cut off right at the very end.
I'll try.
Yeah, should I tell everybody how many PCs you left with?
Yeah, sure.
Ooh.
Ooh, how
Five.
many? 5.
5.
Steve.
I count
Steve
3.
Disowned.
Well, plus the part.
kicked off Macac.
So there's the one IBM tower, the second IBM tower, and then the red case. What's the other two?
The motherboards, the Dell motherboards.
Oh, yeah, my desoldering practice boards. Okay.
Yeah.
The one that Bruce was saying you need to still get Flux and
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
He's being a gentleman and is putting together an Amazon cart for me, so I
Yeah.
don't screw up
Damn.
the whole thing.
Spoiled.
who is typing like really loud?
Oh, that'd be
Charlie.
me. Unfortunately, I have to use my phone tonight because my computer is acting up.
Okay,
I was
because
gonna connect
Okay.
to Ethernet.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
mute yourself if you're doing that.
yeah, because it was like loud. I mean, it was way louder than Steve was talking.
Sorry.
Well,
But anyway,
I learned from his stream that he's one of those people like Greg that does everything
You
over
mean-
Wi-Fi.
You mean Grudy?
No,
Don't
I have-
make sure you got the right Greg.
Jay,
Yeah.
what is this right here?
I don't know. I can't see you on the screen. Everybody else is taking up space.
It looks like a
Wait.
wire, but is that actually connected to anything?
Yeah, it's connected. Here.
As he disconnects it from the chat here.
All right.
I think he's still on Wi-Fi. What do you think?
I think so too. He plugged it in, but he never configured
I
it.
can share my screen.
If we can boot you. All right, guys. So we got
Oh, dude.
what?
Matt says, congrats on 600 subs. We're at 606 right now. I didn't even see that.
606.
Yeah, I told you guys that yesterday.
We never listen
Sure.
to you.
Oh,
Don't take
I
it
heard
personal.
Yeah.
And it's all
That's cool.
thanks to Ken. He boosted our subs by about 30 in the last 2 or 3 days.
Sweet. Thank you, Ken.
Now
and
we
thank
just
you,
need
Matt. for
400 more, and we'll be on our way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once we have 4 digits, we can start acting like we're all that.
Exactly.
This is the lovely tower that Mike has bestowed upon.
That's a Mac, isn't it?
Ooh.
Is that 9500?
Damn right it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
Those are a
look
pain
at-
in the ass to fix.
Look at all
The
those-
9500, the 9500 G3 350.
You're kidding.
Right.
Cool.
Wow. Look at all those cards.
This may or may not be my Power PC machine for the challenge.
Nice.
Probably not.
I am
That
not
machine, that machine used to run an AGFA image setter back in the day.
Wow.
It's a beauty.
Well,
That
Mike,
used to
if
be hooked
you
into a
would have told me you were giving
$150,000
stuff
printer.
away, I would have
That's what-
come to help out too. You know?
What we in the trade call a raster image processor.
So Steve,
Even
when
drive,
are you
Jay.
when are you planning on visiting me? Because I think I'm probably just as close as Mike is.
Well, there was some time urgency with Mike.
Ah.
Otherwise, didn't have.
You were going to
As,
lose all this stuff, huh?
Now, let's just put it this way. We have to move out by tomorrow. I have spent the last 2 days moving a 30-year-old business from somewhere around 7,000 square feet to about 2,800.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Help.
yeah,
That's why-
I'm not the only one who's downsizing. We sold off over half of our equipment at work just because we have no place to put it.
Wow.
Wow.
It's a good thing you have all
You know.
those Mac Pros then, because they stack easily.
Yes, they do.
We did stack them. That was a photo I did not share. We did stack them.
Yeah, they are. They are nicely stacked.
There you go. All right, so we got a lot of topics to get through tonight. So in order to keep it at about 2 hours, which we do go over sometimes, guys. But,
Sometimes.
yeah, I mean, we went over last week, I think, about 30 minutes or so.
I think so. 20, 30 minutes, yeah.
And we only had 4 topics, I think. So we went long on those topics. So we're going to go ahead and start getting in on the topics here. So the very first topic tonight is protecting yourself from seller scams. And so we're going to give out a few tips on what to do and what not to do. One of the things, and it's listed right up here on front on our topic, on our notes, is always use PayPal to pay for goods and services. However, there's a caveat to that. If it's between friends, then you can use friends and family. If it's a complete stranger you do not know, do not use friends and family.
Well, let's iterate on that. So some people may not know when you're using PayPal, there are 2 options.
Yes.
And that's what Greg is getting at.
Yeah.
There's either a normal, merchant, and then there's like a friends and family.
Yeah.
PayPal only protects you on the merchant setting. I think that's what you meant.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's merchant or not. I think it's just the regular send money.
Whatever the heck it is.
It used to be called merchant.
Goods or services.
Yeah, goods or services.
Yeah.
So obviously, if someone is selling you something and they're encouraging you to use the friends and family option,
don't.
They'd be encouraging you to do that because it means they don't then have to pay a fee.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But you then also lose your protection.
Exactly. I mean,
and I put this topic in because someone on one of the Facebook groups, actually quite a few people were scammed by this one person that was selling RAM. What is happening right now?
What is going on?
Charlie, what are you
Charlie.
doing?
I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. I don't know.
This is looking really cool on my screen. I don't know
Yeah,
what's
this is
happening.
kind of neat, but what
One
the
night,
hell?
things tried to work. My camera, it won't rotate, and my computer stopped functioning. My phone's like freezing now.
Pull out the
Help.
internet. Pull it out.
Hold on.
Is this
Travis,
visible on the stream as well?
just,
This is really
Travis,
cool.
haven't seen it on the street.
end the call and then rejoin. It should fix
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Let me try that quickly. Oh.
All right. So
That was
God.
trippy. Anyway, a bunch of people on Facebook were scammed by this guy that was selling RAM at a really good price, and he was asking people to pay over Venmo. Now, there we go again.
But Jay, you can mention his name. We might as well just get his name.
I forgot his name. I just banned him out of all the groups.
Alex
that moved
Morgan.
on. Alex Morgan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he asked people pay over Venmo, and I think some people paid over PayPal. Some people sent cash in an envelope. I don't know, but never. You as the buyer dictate how you're going to pay someone.
yeah.
If a seller doesn't have PayPal, sorry, we're not doing business. Moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always look out for yourself. Even if it's someone that you've seen around on Facebook for a long time, you don't know this person. So
Exactly.
just look out for yourself.
Especially if
Pay
it's
the
some
extra $2 in fees for PayPal. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
do it.
Well,
I
Trina.
mean, as a seller, you're going to have to pay those fees. You just have to accept that as part of the transaction.
Exactly.
Yep.
Trina just said she was scammed on over $3,000 once from someone selling MacBook Pros that she paid via PayPal. Now, the question is, Trina, did you pay for it as friends and family or merchant?
And did you get your cash back?
Yeah.
Oh,
You file a claim within 45 days.
Exactly. That too. Yeah.
That too.
oh yeah. I have.
Now, I also want to
Other top-
say, from like the seller's perspective, it's equally as important to also use that same method when you have a buyer coming to you, because there are
What
people
is
that.
this music?
What is this?
I hear an oboe or something.
Sorry, that's my
Sounds
daughter.
like
She's practicing. Sorry, you myself.
I think
But-
Shirley was trying to say something too.
Oh yeah, I have an interesting scam story. This wasn't of me, but it was someone on my Discord server. I don't know if I want to name him because he'll probably just start raging in the chat because he is
No,
watching.
you cannot
probably,
name him.
But he was on Craigslist or some website or something, and he found this like too good to be true, like 2015 box MacBook Pro for like $300 or so, and he got like a good deal on it or something. And then apparently, and then he paid with like Apple Pay or something. And, no, it was not me, Jay. I swear it was not.
No,
me.
no. It's Christopher asked who you were, so I was just telling him that it's you.
Okay, but anyway, so he paid with Apple Pay, which I know, very intelligent decision, and he got scammed. Like the guy wouldn't respond. He lost $300, and my friends and I on the server, we just kept laughing at him because it was probably the biggest scam I'd ever witnessed. And I myself haven't exactly been scammed before, but that's probably the biggest thing I've ever seen. So
There was a statement you used there, Charlie, and that is it was too good to be true.
Yes.
And that, of course, is the one thing that we always say. If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
I mean,
Yes.
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, we were even telling him, like, we kept telling him, don't buy it, don't buy it. It's a scam, it's a scam, it's a scam. And then he's like, oh, I bought it for $300 now. And we're like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, really? And then, yeah, now he's down $300, I guess. But I think his parents paid him back or something. I don't know. But
Oh, no, that won't make him learn his lesson.
Exactly.
I don't know.
He's
gonna buy
gave
another
us an
MacBook.
update, by the way. He says, honestly, I'm not sure how it was set up, but I was told there was nothing they could do as it was from a business, me, to a personal account, them. Sadly, I did not get my money back.
That
So,
sucks.
Yeah,
that is
if you're
something I want
not-
to add. If you use PayPal, they have good protections, but it's not foolproof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, a scam is a scam. It can blow back and
And
not work
if-
out in your favor.
If you want to buy something like that, like what happened to Trina, make sure it's your personal account and not a business account, because personal accounts tend to have more protection for some odd reason.
Yes.
I have never had problems with that, and I run a business account on PayPal. So I don't know if it's the way that they did the transaction that caused the issue or what.
Well-
What is she practicing there, Rocky?
Saxophone.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Brock here said that he sued PayPal 3 years ago, and
Ooh.
he won in court. He no longer uses PayPal, so
Oh, he says one.
I think he meant WON. I think
Okay.
he's probably using Siri to say it or something, you know. But yeah, that's pretty neat. That if he sued them and won, that would be awesome sometimes, because sometimes you don't win against these big companies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding.
And apart from payments, always make sure that you have a paper trail. You want to chat with this person. You want to get as much detail as you can, especially pictures, so you can compare the picture the product they send you or claim they sent you versus what you got in the mail.
Especially before they delete the listing or whatever. Especially now, like some people say, you know, they do a lot of stuff over Facebook groups, which is face-to-face meeting. Now, here's the thing I got to tell people about as we're talking about scams and stuff. When you're doing something like that, there's still people scamming you out there. In other words, let's say you buy an iPad, okay? Because I've seen people do this before. You buy an iPad, and they say new in box, never been opened. Okay, and it's still shrink wrapped and whatnot. So they sit there and change the money. They leave. They're gone, and you go and open up it, and guess what? There's a brick inside of it.
Yeah.
Okay, and it has happened before. I've seen it happen to other people, not me personally, because I will make sure that they open it right then and there. But some people sit there and try to tell you, no, if you open it, you're paying for it no matter what. You know, yeah, you want to make sure that you check the product out first.
Yeah. It's the best idea.
Yeah. I sold an iMac just recently off of Facebook groups, and the people that bought it. All right, Grudy, that's enough. The people
I
that
got my keyboard working.
the people that bought it.
I guess I didn't sell you crap after all, huh?
Yeah, I had to sign it back in.
Yeah. But anyways, the people that bought it wanted to see it work, which I agreed with it, and I set it up on my coffee table and turned it on, and they sat there and they logged in with their. Because I set it up to where they could put it as a new user and stuff, you know. Because I always wipe the hard drive and do everything like that.
Yeah.
But anyways, so they set it up. They set up their user account and all that stuff right then and there while they were waiting, and they wanted to make sure they saw the about this Mac screen. That's what they wanted to see, because a lot of people want to see that screen. And so they want to make sure that it has the specs that it says. So that's another thing too. Make sure that you're getting what you're paying for. So check the specs out. Even though it might say it on the outside, like you might get a G5, for cheap, or even let's say a Mac Pro, and you look at the specs on the back, just because it says that on the back, that might not be what's inside of it.
Yes.
One of the there were two things that I sort of pointed out on one of the sort of blogs that I set up with sort of buying secondhand ones. And of course, one was when people put an ad on eBay using a stock photo, like a new product photo of that.
Avoid.
Avoid. Stay away from those. Then the other, of course, is when the photo doesn't match the description. If someone is telling you they're selling, product A and they've got photos of product B, that's another one to always be wary of.
Yep, I totally agree.
Duke is saying, I have a tip. If you are using a local buy and sell app, and the seller wants to leave the app, like the chat within the app, and go switch to email or some other method of contact, don't.
Yes.
Stay within the app.
Yeah.
Because
and a lot of these apps will suggest that, hey, if the seller suggests this, don't do that. I told this story a few times, and to tell extremely truncated version, I had an electronic item to be repaired on eBay. I bought this repair service. I sent it to that individual. That individual strung me along, and right outside of the eBay protection window and the PayPal protection window, this guy just ghosted me. And what tricked me is I had conversations with him over email. Over the eBay Messenger thing. And I just thought, he has to repair this. It's going to take longer or whatever. But he was responsive, so I thought, okay, well, I sort of have trustworthy. He has good feedback and everything. And it's 2 years later, and I have not had my item back. So I'm out both my item and the $60 or whatever I paid to have that sent to him. And eBay and PayPal did absolutely nothing. They couldn't even give me his phone number. They actually did a few years ago. And I called up recently saying that number's no good. I need another. And they're like, oh, no, we changed our policy. We no longer give out that information. So I said, well, I'm basically screwed here.
You know what's
cautionary tale.
You know what's bad about that, Steve, is that now eBay actually favors the buyers now more than they do sellers. So even if you're a seller,
that's been the case.
Yeah.
And also the biggest thing here, I could not even give him negative feedback. They would not even let me give him negative feedback. So hindsight is 2020. Obviously, you have to be sure of these protection windows. I think PayPal is 45 days. I think eBay is 30 days. If there's different item categories, there are different return and refund policies. Be well aware of the protection that is offered by you before you have to use it. That's my advice to you out there.
Yeah.
So please be very careful.
You're saying 45 days on eBay?
45 days if you're using PayPal, I believe. Okay. And this was 2 years ago. It might have changed, but it sucks.
And you didn't use any kind of middleman when you sent me your power supply, so I could just keep that, and there's nothing you can do.
I sent you a Yule log. I didn't send you any power supply. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay.
Well, Dysfunctional Wombat says when he got his 2010 Mac Mini, the listing said it was scratched to hell, but for $85 shipped, I was okay with. That turns out is totally mint condition, even came with the Apple power cord. So he got lucky.
That's a reverse
killer deal.
Yeah. Sign me up for one of those.
Yeah.
Hey, for $50, I got an iMac G5 prototype.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of tips we can give you, but if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Don't rush into it, because whatever someone is selling that you really, really, really badly want, another one will come along at some point.
And
just use your head.
Yeah. On eBay, especially, make sure you look at their feedback. I know a lot of people don't take a lot of credence in it, but when I look at feedback, I don't look at the positive feedback. I only look at the negative feedback.
Of course. Yep.
Okay. Because when I leave a positive feedback, I leave something generic as just say, hey, great seller, blah, 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 or great buyer or whatever. But if I'm leaving negative feedback, that's when you get exactly pretty much what happens.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at something, in fact, that's a good advice for anything. Like for instance, if you're looking at a product and you want to look at the reviews on something, on that product, don't look at the positive reviews. Look at the negative reviews. See what they say. Now, you might see a pattern, then you might not see a pattern. You might just see a bunch of people just complaining and griping, and it might be, but the positive ones, I hate to say this, but a lot of companies pay to have positive ones.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. The guy that's selling fake Steve Jobs signatures has good reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah, but all of those most of his reviews are dummy accounts.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what
They're guaranteed dummy.
And that's what I'm getting at is a lot of businesses pay to have those positive feedbacks.
Yep.
So
and some of these social media apps like Facebook or Letgo, you will actually be able to tap on the user. Now, again, they could have this spoofed, but if you tap on the user, you can usually see what they sold, what their current listings are. So if you see many of the same listings with the same images, that's a tip-off. And of course, if you see no feedback or zero feedback,
stay away from zero feedback.
Exactly. Yeah.
Although, how can you see? It's like a catch-22. How can you become a good seller if you're just starting off with zero feedback?
Because you actually want to be a buyer first before you become a seller, because you get feedback as a buyer, and that's what builds you up from zero.
Well, you have to get the sellers to actually give it, because there's a lot of sellers that it's hard to have them give you feedback.
Let's propose this. MacAC is going to start an eBay store. You can buy as much crap from us as you want, and we will guarantee to leave you feedback.
So
I was about to build on that. It's a lot of people buy within our Facebook groups and Discord. We buy and sell and trade stuff. There's no problem with asking in public, like, hey, has anyone worked with Jay before? He's selling this. Has anyone bought from him before? And you'll get good stuff or bad stuff, but just ask. Because a lot of people know each other from buying and selling and trading.
Yeah, I'm going to say, that guy Jay, man, he's a dirtbag. He never ships his stuff, on time. It took me, 3 months to get my keyboards from you the first time?
And the second time?
Was immediately. Yeah.
Exactly. There you go.
So you improved. The fact that's a good story too, because that's how I first met Jay. He was selling some keyboards on one of the Facebook groups.
That's how I met you?
That's how we met, actually, because I went I wanted to buy a couple of them, and then we got into Power PC Gaming Lounge, and it went from there. So, but it just, I sent Jay the money, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting.
I should have just ghosted you, then I never would be stuck with you now.
I finally got him, though, but Jay was pretty cool. And actually, I got that MacBook from you also at the same time, because you got it from the recycler, so you threw it in there, because that was like a month or two later that you got the MacBook.
That sounds about right.
So, yeah. All right. So, anyways, we're going to go ahead and move on to topic number 2, which kind of goes into this a little bit, because I did mention a little bit about this Mac screen. A lot of people like to look at that screen to see what the specs are of the machine.
By the way, this was suggested by Charlie.
Yes,
Oh yeah, this was it wasn't exactly my idea. I had another person on my Discord server. He suggested that we talked about weird
taking credit,
blocking out the numbers and other interesting things. I mean, we've already talked about a couple of them, but I thought we might be able to go a bit more in depth with more of the habits and the scams and stuff like that. So yeah. I think he's watching this stream, but I think he probably left because he got bored or something. I'm not sure, but
no, but anyways, we were talking about blurring out serial numbers, okay, and IMEI of the product listing when it's for sale. There's a big reason why a lot of people do it. I don't particularly care about mine being blurred or not.
I don't either.
But
IMEI, it's very important to block out. Serial number, no.
Yeah, IMEI is because that's a phone serial number, or that's how somebody can clone your cell phone.
Yeah, so it can connect to a cell tower.
That's a little bit different. I agree with Rocky on this. The serial number, however, a lot of people tend to use that to make Hackintoshes so that they can connect iMessenger to iCloud and all this other stuff because it's all done by serial numbers.
Oh.
That's what they claim.
That's what they
But
claim.
in real life, Hackintoshers use a program that you type in the terminal and it generates a serial number that Apple hasn't used. And then you verify it. And then if it's not verifiable, that means Apple hasn't used it. And Apple software will still see it as a normal, real Apple serial number,
Wow.
even though it's not connected to anything.
Sounds like some good info there.
So there's no reason to cover your serial number anymore, thanks to the
No,
new,
in fact, I just put
generator.
mine in the chat.
Yeah.
Do your worst.
Hmm.
Let me read the serial number off of this thing.
Well,
XC6260CN7C0. Do your worst.
C0? All right, I just registered it with iMessage. You're locked out.
Okay. Scarlet Swordfish said, "What is IMEI?"
IMEI is the what's that? International Mobile
I think one
Sure,
of
we'll
the
go
is
with that.
identification.
Identification. Yeah, I can't remember what the other E is for. Electronic.
Electronic, probably.
Yeah.
Well, it's literally the code/serial number that tells the cell tower what your phone is, and if your IMEI is blocked, it won't connect to any cell tower.
Yep. And when you buy a new cell phone, you're going to get a new IMEI number. Every device is locked to that IMEI number. So
But some devices you can spoof with real regular IMEIs that are still working.
and that's what what Rocky was talking about is that if somebody gets your IMEI number that is still good, they can clone it and then use it for criminal activities and stuff like that. And you're the one that's going to be responsible for it because guess what? Your name is associated with that IMEI.
It's not only that though. You can also, like, for example, I could call my cell phone carrier, give them the IMEI, and register that device as mine. So now the device becomes mine, and I can lock it out through that, and then go, guess what? You can't use your device, so you have to sell it to me. So there's a lot of nefarious things you can do with the IMEI.
Yeah, definitely IMEI. Keep that to yourself. When it comes to serial numbers, though,
don't worry about it.
Don't worry
Hackintoshers
about it.
are not going to steal it, and that's about the only thing you'd ever have to worry about.
Now, at the end of this year, Apple is going to tell you otherwise, but that's bullshit. Pardon my French. They're gonna change their serial number format to a string of random characters for privacy and security and fraud reasons, which is nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, keep. You can blur it out if it makes you feel better. It always makes me giggle. But,
Then again, for the last year and a half now, they've been saying that they were going to ARM processors for Macs. And
They
I
were
kept
never
saying
that that's a rumor. So that, I
Yeah.
would not say Apple
I
was
kept saying
they were
it's a rumor, it's a bunch of bull, it's never going to happen. Where are they?
But getting back onto the topic, one thing that you can do, because I do know that when I used to cell phones or when you buy them, one of the things that you want to do with the IMEI to validate that you have a valid one that's clean, you can go to certain sites, you can validate it, make sure it is clean. What you can do is you can blur out the bulk of the IMEI, and then you can show on there it's valid, it's good, the phone is clean, and then when the person meets you in person, they can actually finish validating that.
Yeah.
But you don't have to see the whole number. Just block out all but a little bit of it to show you have a valid one in there, show from the site that's your phone, to where you can compare it and show in a picture from, like, for instance, I'm not going to show everybody my number, but on the new modern iPhones, thank you, Apple, I don't believe that Android does this yet, but if you go into the About on your phone, you'll see your serial number and your IMEI, and what you can do is you can block out the bulk of it, and then you can show on that website that validates, there's a few different ones out there, that it is a clean phone, that if they were to buy it, they could attach it to their carrier and it's not going to be locked out. Because that's another thing you have to do. If you buy a phone or another, LTE for example, rated device, always meet them at your phone carrier and have the phone carrier validate that it can be brought over to them before you hand the money over.
Yeah.
So that way you know it's a clean phone.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there used to be a lot of websites that would verify IMEIs. I don't think there's many around anymore. Probably been blocked. But they used to come in a lot of handy when I'd be out looking for new semi-used iPhone or something.
You're always looking
Yeah.
for something used. You never buy anything new.
Yeah.
The only thing I ever usually buy new is an iPhone when I want a new iPhone. That's about it. I did buy my girlfriend a new iPad mini recently, but other than that,
Yeah.
And one of these sites is Swappa. We're talking about it in the chat
yeah,
now.
Swappa.
That's the
I
one
used
I
to
use,
use
and
them. Yeah.
the company I work for uses that site too. It's reputable, and it mostly works.
Mostly.
Cool.
Mostly.
All right. Any other on this topic before we move on?
Well,
I mean,
real quick,
no,
the
go ahead.
reason why it mostly works is because when you get a blacklisted IMEI, sometimes it takes a few days for it to show up in the systems. And if it just got blacklisted, it won't just show up in Swappa instantly, usually.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's probably a good
No.
one just to test, if somebody's trying to sell a stolen phone or something,
Yep.
Also, another thing to be aware of, also, getting back to the scamming portion too, is a little bit, is when you buy, like, for instance, an iPhone or something like that, or any iOS device, make sure it's not iCloud locked. Because if it's iCloud locked, it's a brick. You're basically
Literally
yeah,
a brick.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started with cloud lock phones. They're good for parts.
Paperweight.
I mean, if you're like trying to get like a housing or a screen or something, I mean, iPhones, like bricked iPhones, are good for that. If you want to use it, it's basically impossible. I mean, I have a couple cloud locked phones that'd be lovely to use and stuff like that, but I can't because they're just
Yeah, because Apple will not unlock them.
Yeah.
Unless the only way they will unlock it, they will do it if you can provide a receipt that matches the serial number of that phone.
All right, who turned on the vacuum cleaner?
Yeah. Not me.
And yeah, talking about iCloud lock, Redacted, he sold me a bunch of stuff.
Come on, just say his name.
Well, now we know who Redacted is if I say that.
Do it.
But he sent me a bunch of stuff, and he tossed in a bunch of free stuff too. And one of them was a iCloud Launch 4S, and man, it was a really nice phone, but it's literally a brick. I have nothing I can do with it.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Now, I do have to say, if you buy a phone or an iPad or any of those type of devices, the first thing you should do when you get there and meet up with the seller is you take that device, you yourself reset it. Do the reset right then and there, and walk yourself all the way through without an account. Get yourself all the way back. If you can do that, you're clean.
Yep.
Otherwise, if you can't, it hits that screen where it says, oh, you got to sign in with the iTunes account. Have them sign in with it. If they can, you get back there, do it again after you've made sure and got it out of there. Make sure it's fully done out of there before you even
Well,
walk over.
also, if you can access the lock screen and stuff and actually get to the home screen, you can also just verify to see if it's actually signed into an iCloud account. If it is, you need to make sure they log it out before anything happens.
And the quickest way to log it out is just turn off Find My Phone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Apple
But it
does.
takes a whole couple minutes to reset that thing and verify and make sure you get all the way through, though.
But it's worth it. It's, if you're paying top dollar for something, it's worth your time to sit there and make sure that it's doing it, So.
I'm just eating some dinner, but I'm still here.
Okay. All right. So I know we went back to our other topic on that a little bit, but I thought that was some important stuff about iOS that needed.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. All right. So the next topic, we are going to be starting right after this show for the Power PC Challenge.
PP.
Yeah, PPC. I was going to say PPC. And yes, Jay is very excited about this. That's the reason why he came back on camera, even though he's eating.
Yes. I am super stoked about it.
We did this last year about around this time, and I think I did it, and I think 2 other people I think may have done it too.
I didn't have time to do it, although I had been doing it weeks before.
But it doesn't count.
That doesn't count.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Keep your mouth shut.
What we're asking you guys to do is we're not asking you to use Power PCs for everything. If you can't, if you have to do business on an Intel machine, or even, God forbid, a PC, then that's not going to count. What we're asking is your at-home stuff. When you get home and you want to do like the internet, Facebook, whatever, do it on a Power PC. Do your email on a Power PC, your home email. Okay? Do your gaming on a Power PC. Okay?
It's going to be fun.
So that's what we're asking you guys to do. Now, I did it last year. I did a full week of it. And if you go to macyak.com and read the old blogs that I wrote up there, I mean, I did a write-up every day on my experiences with it. And it wasn't that bad.
I think I did a write-up too at the time.
Huh?
I think I wrote something up too.
I think you might have.
Yeah, for a few days at least.
But we had a couple.
So before he collapses, Rocky is showing off his G5. Charlie is.
I'm
G4
here. I don't have any G5s. I have the case for a G5 iMac. I don't know what happened to the iMac.
He's going to use a case and pretend it's a G5.
I mean, maybe. I was about to cheat and use one of my Intels, but then I thought I should probably just do it the way it's supposed to be done. So
Hence it's Power PC Challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's going to be terrible. This is the 1 gigahertz 17-inch model, 2 gigabytes of RAM, which is the max amount. And
Yeah, it's still plenty.
I can't even load YouTube or anything.
Yeah, you can.
It doesn't.
Well,
It loads, but watching videos is a slideshow. It doesn't work. I mean,
If you're trying to watch it 1080, yes, it's going to be a slideshow. That's why you watch it at
you have to get it down in the lowest
like
quality
360
that's what I
or
did too. It still didn't work. It was just a low
Well,
quality.
do you have the plug-in for it?
yeah. There's a plug-in for 10.4
no,
Fox
I don't.
that you need.
Yeah.
I haven't really set it up yet, but I have some people on the chat that said that they would help me with that. So I'm hoping I can get that quickly done after the stream. So
Yeah, 2 things I want to touch on is the first. We have a channel on our Discord, Power PC Challenge Help. Go in there. I mean, you've had all week to do it, but if you still need help, go in there, and not just you, but anyone watching. Go in there. Nick has offered to help out with getting Discord going on a Power PC, getting YouTube going, and something else. And there's other people that can help with setting up your email and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, all I really need is just Discord, YouTube, email. I think I have.
Yeah, you're not going to get Discord, but the rest of that stuff you can do.
You can get the web
How
the
you
web
get
version
Discord?
the web version of Discord.
I can't seem to get it to
But
run.
here's the caveat to that though.
You got to use Ethernet.
Yeah. Well, here's the caveat to that though. If you're using Discord in the web version, you're probably not going to be able to do much else on the machine because it eats up a lot of processing cycles.
It does.
Discord, unfortunately, takes up a lot of power. I mean, it seems simple on like newer devices, but then when you like take it back to the past on like older systems, it takes up a lot. So, I mean,
Yeah, and the second, the thing you said that you were going to cheat and use an Intel. Anyone can do their thing, but we saw this a lot last year, and in the years before that, we did it as a Macyak thing.
Yeah.
People try to be clever and cheat their way around it. That's fine. Everybody do whatever the hell they want to do. But this is about having fun with your old Power PC. If you want to try to be clever and show the world how smart you are by cheating, that's cool. Do your thing. But
It defeats
You will
the
just be
purpose.
shunned.
it defeats the purpose.
That's why I decided not to do it.
But even if you do, have fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say. I mean, I got Discord working once on. I mean, it used to work on it, but now it's. I think they dropped support for it because it just won't run natively anymore. It worked decently well, and now it just doesn't work at all. But I mean, as I was saying, still sort of cheating. So I mean, I mean, as you all. Yeah. So I mean, as you were saying, it's the whole point of the challenge is just have fun and just use your older Mac. So I guess I'm just gonna try that out. And if it really is hell, I might just not do it. But that's probably not what's gonna
At least
happen.
give it a
Well,
try.
it's
Yeah.
going to be hell either way, but it's going to be a manageable
Yeah.
hell.
Yes. I did it.
And if you have to split it between different types of devices, you're learning the limitations of what you've discovered and can do.
Exactly.
Which, that's,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
can't
'cause-
cheat when you're just, you're doing for fun.
Now,
The first time I tried it, I did it on a dual 2.0 G5. It worked fine, and then I did it on the quad core. It definitely worked fine. So now I'm trying to do it on a single 1.6 and the slowest G5 ever made.
You're
And-
begging for
That barely
Yeah, it's
made
not
it through
going
your
to work
stream.
fine. So,
Which, by the way, everybody is welcome to also benchmark their machines and throw them in Mount Olympus because we still have nobody to dethrone the slowest Mac.
What is the slowest Mac?
No,
that
that's,
would be
that's
something
silly.
that. Yeah.
I think it was
That's
my
to run Tiger.
2.66,
That's-
wasn't
no, I thought Dana had, or who was it?
I
It
think
was James.
It was
That's
James.
the slowest.
James.
No, if
Yeah,
you
but
want
I
to do
ran
the
my
slowest Mac,
2.66. Or
Yeah.
266.
Well,
266.
Anyway, GT, you got that photo?
I was just getting ready to say, you ready for me to show? So this is Jay's setup that he's going to be using. So he's got a really nice MDD there. So I'm going to let you explain to it there, Jay.
Yes,
Okay.
wow, that's a tiny picture. Really? That's it? Wow.
I'll be right back, guys.
I'm trying not to
Anyway,
cover
this
anybody
monitor
up.
looks familiar.
This is the MDD that I've been building out for
very
2
nice.
years now, maybe longer. But I stripped all the upgrades out, apart from a few PCI cards. I put a fairly low-end CPU card in, a good graphics card to drive those displays, and just the last week alone, playing with this, getting it ready, getting it set up, has been freaking amazing. I am updating my website. Thanks to Bruce, I found a program that helped me update my my database on the website on the G4, and it's just a ton of fun. So I kept it fairly low end with a very good graphics card to drive those two displays, but nothing fancy. Last year I used an 800 megahertz iMac G4. Was a little lacking in the graphics department. I couldn't even play UT. But I figured this year I'm going to set up a separate desk for it. And actually, I don't know if you can see, it's right behind me there.
Oh, nice.
So I could just roll my chair there and be comfortable, enjoy my iTunes. And if you update the iTunes, I think it's iTunes 9 or 4.
Yeah,
I don't
9.
know. It's compatible if you share your iTunes library on your Intel or whatever other Mac. iTunes 9 can pick up on it, so you can have all your music on the PowerPC as well.
That's nice.
It's really sweet.
That's nice.
That's awesome.
So,
Thanks
and,
for
Dreams too.
I think Zach
Oh, no.
also sent a
Hold
picture
on. Hold
over.
on. I'm going to talk about mine next. I have mine set up for next.
Oh, okay. Do you think?
Yeah. See,
Hey, real quick, I want to ask Jay a question real quick.
go for it.
How are you driving two ADC monitors off that? Do you have are you running one off the DVI port?
Actually, the card in there is a G5 card, 256 meg. I forgot which exact model, but it has two DVI ports. So I got two DVI to ADC adapters.
Oh, you got a
Driving
90, you got a Radeon 9600. Okay, yeah, I got you.
9650, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And it's holding
Awesome.
up very nicely. So
Looks nice, Jay.
Yeah.
thank you, sir.
It's very pretty.
I
That
know.
that big widescreen monitor really sets it off. I can't imagine who would have given that to you.
Actually, this one is not yours, I think. I only have about 4 of them up the shelf up there.
How do you keep track?
I don't.
Well, why don't you run two widescreen monitors instead
I
of
tried that.
widescreen?
I tried that, but it was just too ridiculous. It just.
Oh, okay.
It's too much.
Just
It
too
works,
much
but-
monitor.
Yes. I was getting whiplash. Just go like this the whole time.
Oh, you should see.
Anyway,
you would hate my
um,
widescreen monitor that I got on this Mac Pro. Then
I've tried those in the past. I do hate them.
I love
You
it.
and your LCDs.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, but don't you run dual screen right now, Jay?
Me? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But he's not running
No,
widescreen.
It's not the.
Yeah, but
it's
they
not the
don't have
quality.
an inch and a half of bezel on them either.
Yeah, it's not the quality of those curved things. I mean, they're really pretty and all. I am just so used to having 2 separate spaces to sort my stuff in that I cannot deal with the curved single screen. I don't know why. It just doesn't click in my brain.
Oh, that and the price tag.
Well, you should see how much
Well, that's
stuff
my 3
how much
monitors.
stuff I have opened on this screen right now. Right now, I have Skype, OBS, I have iMessage, I have Pages, and I have Safari. So I have all 4 of those, all of those open at one time on here, so I could see everything at once.
Yeah, I remember you showing that showing that to us once. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah. So, but anyways, my setup is going to be a G5 with dual 2.3 gigahertz processors, 8 gigabytes of memory, and I think it's got a 160 gigabyte SSD in it. So
Wow.
You know, it's called the PowerPC Challenge. What's challenging
Yeah, there's
about
no
that?
challenge
hot
in
rod?
that.
it's
Wait, that's what mine is.
isn't that have a Power PC in
Might
it?
as well just use a low-end Mac Pro.
Right?
Isn't that a Power PC though?
It
Yeah, but not a
is.
challenge.
So
That's what mine is.
that's what I. Hey,
Talk about challenge. Wait till Bruce tells you what he's gonna do.
So anyways, but this is my setup. It's got the 20-inch cinema display, which is the new one I just picked up. So it actually looks a lot better than the other one I had, and it actually has the rubber feet on the bottom, so I can actually angle it better than the other one.
It's a good looking display.
Yeah, I love those displays, man. I tell you what, I've got 2 of them now, and I won't give them up for anything because
I think they're all right.
yeah.
I can say they work really well. I have my 2 flat displays are 20-inch cinemas, and then in the middle is a high-end LED display. That
Yeah.
actually, they all look about the same.
But like Jay, if you look, it's right there. So I mean, I can just wheel my chair over and I'm there. You know, so it works out pretty good that way. So who was this that we had the third one for? The third picture?
That
Jay?
was Zach. He's in the chat right now.
All right, so that's Zach's setup, and that looks like
And
what
I'll pull
a
up his email. Sorry, Zach, I didn't see your email too right before the show. Actually, I'm going to copy and paste this in the chat because my wife is knocking at my door.
probably it's
So-
not going to fit because you're only limited
No,
to a
I'm
certain
putting
amount
in
of
an
characters.
iMessage, so you
Oh.
can read it for me. Thank you.
Okay, there we go. He goes, his iMac is in for repairs for the next few days, so that's even more of an excuse to use a Power PC for a bit. He goes, my machine for this week is my titanium PowerBook G4 I picked up last year from Facebook Marketplace for $40. It's got a triple boot setup with partitions for Leopard, Tiger, and OS 9. It's got an 800 megahertz G4. Grudy, mute when you do that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
768 megabytes of RAM and a 100 gigabyte hard drive. Because of college, I won't be able to 100% give up non-Power PC, which we're not asking, machines for the week. But I'll definitely try to do most of my computer-based time wasting on the PowerBook. I've installed a bunch of games on there and also the basics for productivity like 10.4 Fox, Office 2008. Should be an interesting experience. So, yeah. Speaking of which, I also have a Power Mac G4 that I might use also for the challenge too. I might swap between them. I got that one kind of for free when I got this Mac Pro because the guy threw it in with the Mac Pro. So
What's that G4 though? Because you got like a selection of like a huge range that the G4s were produced, the Power Macs.
I'd have to look at it again.
That's his.
What's it look like?
It's a gigabit Ethernet, Rocky.
Oh.
No. Not that one. I'm talking about the
No, it's his
laptop.
laptop.
The
Oh,
laptop.
laptop.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Hold
It's a
on.
It's a
I thought you said-
1.42 gigahertz G4 17 inch.
Damn.
Nice.
It's the identical model to mine, except mine's a 15 inch and his is a 17.
This is a 17-inch model, and that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Can you throw a 15-inch board in the 17?
Easy on
I'll
comparing
send you my
sizes, guys.
17, Mike, if you want it.
Now, the only drawback to this is the guy that owned it tried to, and you can look at the back here. This is the
Polish
bottom.
the bottom.
He tried to scrape off all the paint and stuff, which was a bad idea. So
Do you want my 17 inch to swap parts with? I've got a decent body on my 17.
sure, if you want.
The board doesn't work very well. That's the problem.
Just send me shipping information, like how much, and
Yep, sounds
Yeah.
good.
seeing
That
that
works.
I just sent you some CPUs, right?
I know, right?
So what are you
Which
going to be
is-
using, Rudy? Did you
What
already
I
tell us?
am going to be using is a mixture of a few systems, but mainly the topic of Season 4, Episode 2 of the PowerPC series, where I made the fastest, slowest iMac G5, which is a 1.6 gigahertz G5 iMac 17-inch. And since that video, I've also included a Bluetooth module in it, which I found out that the 1.67 17-inch didn't have an option for Bluetooth, although it had the plug-in port for it. It has no antennas built into it for Bluetooth. So I had to actually make an antenna out of an internal Wi-Fi antenna for one of my crappy Wi-Fi routers to have a
Thus,
Bluetooth
reason why
antenna.
we get on to Grudy about Wi-Fi.
Hey, I upgraded those antennas. That's why I had a bunch of them laying around.
But your Wi-Fi is still crap, right?
It's actually better than it was, believe it or not. But it's still crap, yes. But I'll be using that, and when I get sick and tired of the world's slowest G5, I'm going to probably also, I might use my quad in a pinch, but I plan on using my FireWire 800 dual 1.5 G4 MDD also, which I have set up where my Mac Pro usually would sit. So
Very nice.
Oh, speaking of which, this PowerBook G4 is a 1.5 gigahertz with 1 gigabyte of RAM.
You can take
Nice.
that one up to 2, I think.
yeah,
I
you
think
can
so.
go up to 2.
But I don't have two 1 gigabyte DRAM sticks for it, so unfortunately I
Are
have
those DDR or DDR2 on that
DDR.
model?
DDR.
I say
Mike
you
has
took one
some
gig
DDR.
stick. Did you put them in the other one?
no. Those are in my my MacBooks.
Oh no! Wait a minute. You have a DDR. Is that the one that went into your?
No, those are DDR2.
iMac G4.
Yeah, iMac Pro.
iMac.
Yeah, your iMac G4.
But this
Okay.
this actually takes the SODIMMs, not the.
Yeah. Yeah.
Regular
Actually,
DIMMs.
that one I'm sending you might have a 1 gig DIMM in it. So
Well, if it does, then I could put at least 1.5 gigabytes in, maybe.
yeah.
And Mike, are you doing the PowerPC challenge? I know you've
I
been
might. I
swamped.
have. I don't know. I might attempt it. I have my iBook G4 here, which is the only PowerPC machine that I can use because I don't have any place to set. I'd love to set up my iMac because that thing is a screamer.
Is that a
I hope-
68K behind you?
Yes. Yeah, it's a
Okay.
PowerBook 160.
I am using.
But yeah, I have a iBook G4. It was a donation from Steve. It's a 1.07 gigahertz G4 with a 30 gig hard drive, a CD-ROM, and 1.5 gigs of RAM.
Nice. I
And
just
how
got
long
one
does the
of
battery life last, Mike? Let's tell
And,
everybody.
yeah, and the battery actually lasts almost 2 hours on that thing.
yeah.
Nice.
Streaming
Nice.
music.
Hey,
So,
1.07,
yeah, I
isn't
might
that what
actually
I just
try
sent
that.
you, Greg?
Yeah, you just sent me one of those, Jack.
I do have to say, on that iBook G4, if it doesn't have the little blue, I don't know what to call it, on each of the screws to keep them held in, it will
Loctite.
work
Loctite.
its screws out. Oh man, those things toss screws like it's going out of style. Surprisingly, they only short every once in a blue moon.
Then Steve is going to be using a Power Macintosh 9500 with a G3 350 megahertz upgrade card. It's got 320 megabytes of memory, 6x SCSI CD-ROM drive, an ATI Rage Pro 2 video card with a whopping 8 megs of memory,
Ooh.
and he's going to be running OS 8.6 on it.
8.6,
dude. If I get the
My
damn thing to
favorite.
boot up, that's what I've been trying to do this entire time.
And what about you, Bruce?
That won't be my only machine.
Yeah, well, despite the incredible amount of peer pressure I've been receiving to go and get my, I've got a dual processor G5 tower that I've owned since new, and it's tucked away in a storage unit, and it's still there. And the main reason for that is because it is just so big. I don't really have anywhere to sort of set it up permanently, which means we'll have to leave on the
Just toss your Mac Pro off to the side.
Nah, I don't think he's going to do that.
Not really. I mean, I could probably put it down the shed or something like that, but that would mean I'd have to be spending all my time down there. It's probably going to end up on the dining room table. So I went for a hunt to see what I could, because I knew I did have some G4s floating around. So I've got a titanium iBook 1 gigahertz, but I did find in my storage unit a Mac Mini 1.4 gigahertz Mac Mini. So that one, is what I'm going to be using. That's got a 320 gigabyte spinner in it. I tried to actually put an SSD in it, but it didn't work. I had like a little. I've got these little M SATA, things with one of these sort of adapters to IDE. A little 32 gigabyte sort of Samsung one, and that worked beautifully. And then so I bought a 256 gigabyte Samsung one, and it doesn't work. It works on my new computer, but it doesn't work in the little mini. So I don't know what's going on there. So I am having to stick with the maxed out 1 gigabyte of RAM and a 320 gigabyte sort of old spinner hard drive. Look, I mean, I'm pleased with all the things I can do on it. I've got no issue with checking mail, working on database. Obviously things like stuff that I do in the terminal, or the thing that kills it is web browsing. 10.4 Fox on that thing is an absolute snail. I mean, it is painful visiting web pages. So,
well, just use the Classilla interface, the user agent.
Okay. Yep.
I speed it up a whole lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, Safari, if you're using Tiger, Safari is not half bad. There's a lot of certificate issues. But
yeah, it just can't. Most of the web pages I go to, it won't load because of the certificates. So that's the only issue.
Snappier than 10.4.
Absolutely. If Safari was able to load the new SSL certificates, it would be a solution.
They're still rarely, but still occasionally updating Leopard WebKit, which is just an updated version of 5.
Leopard. Leopard is inferior garbage.
It works pretty darn good with it, though.
It doesn't.
Certain machines, Leopard does work well. I will back Grudy up on that one.
I try to run Leopard on every system I have that can possibly run it.
And I ran it on my Quicksilver that's overclocked, my Franken-Mac.
Sorry to just jump in there, but Justin Morgan says, I'd use my iMac G4, but it needs an OS reinstall and my Tiger discs are packed in a poorly labeled box in storage. Well, good thing that our good buddy Christian runs a website called Macintosh Garden, where you can download any Mac OS from its very first beta version 0.1 whatever up until the latest version of Tiger, and maybe even Leopard as well. So
very convenient.
I did have Leopard on my little Mac Mini, but then I got bullied into putting 10.4.
It was Greg, right?
No, Grudy. Remember, I'm Greg. That's Grudy.
No, actually, Jay and I kind of Jay and I kind of conned him into doing that because
Yeah.
you know, especially on a 1 gigabyte G4 Mini. Oh, trust me, 10.4 will run so much better. 10.5 is just so bloated.
Yeah, but that's why I double and triple boot mine. Especially my Mini, I even can boot into OS 9, even though it's still a little glitchy.
Now, last year I did the challenge on OS 9, and it worked remarkably well.
Yeah, but that was
if
a
you want to read
separate
about
challenge,
it, you could do
Jay.
that on the. Well, I called it the Classic Mac Challenge because I was using OS 9, but this year I'm using OS 10. But is anyone else using OS 9 or 8.6 for Steve? But anyone else?
I can pull out 9 if you want.
I might use it. If I do use
I might try
use the Power Mac G4 that I acquired, I will probably use it on OS 9 there because I do have OS 9 installed on it. But as far as my G5, because it will not run OS 9, I can run. I can't. I think I have Classic on there too, if I'm not mistaken. But on my iMac G4, I do have Tiger on there, and I can run Classic mode as well.
Yeah, I did a dual boot as well, which I'll probably only use for Unreal Tournament this week because the OS 10 patched version is just it's garbage. So,
it works totally fine.
When I'm beating Jay at Unreal Tournament, then you know that
the only problem I find with the OS 10 version is some of the audio doesn't work.
And you can see through walls.
On occasion. Which is handy.
Oh, yeah, that's not a problem.
Oh, we can see through walls with the OS 10 version?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, and I would. And you know what happens when you have a very high lag? Well, my ping was 70, as was anyone else on the server, but still, I was shooting rockets, and I walked past them, and then I shot myself in the back through a wall. So that kind of tells you how bad the patch is.
It worked
pretty
fine.
bad. But anyone that wants to join us for the PowerPC Challenge, we start tonight. You can visit our website for some details. You can join our Discord for some help. And if you want to keep a daily log or a log for the week and send it to us, then we're going to put it on the website. We're going to aggregate all the stories, take some excerpts out, and make a little nice log book on the website for future years that can look back and say, what a bunch of morons. They should have done this.
Yeah.
Now,
So.
I do want to say that the biggest thing is the challenge with a PowerPC is not so much general use, because if you're doing typing, you're doing other type of things of that nature, it will do it. It'll do it great.
Perfect.
The problem is when you're getting into stuff that is not designed for it anymore, the web, stuff like that. It's not that it can't run those. Actually, the reality is it can run them very well. And that's been proven by running Linux on a lot of them. The thing is, it can't run them within macOS because they haven't created and developed software to handle those more modern web stuff and all that garbage. So that's the reality of it. And honestly, there are people, and I just wanted to throw this out there, there are people that still use an old System 7 or System 6 68K little Mac Classic and stuff like that, and what they're doing is they're typing up entire books on them, and they prefer it because of the way it feels, or an old Wall Street laptop or something, because they like it. So it's not obsolete unless it's obsolete for your purpose.
I mean, I sort of agree with Rocky here. I've heard a lot of people that really like using older laptops for work and stuff because there's like a lot less distractions. And I'm a bit the same because like sometimes when you're doing work, it's pretty easy to get sidetracked and distracted with all the things you have on your modern computer because all of the things it's capable of doing. But if you're using like an older computer that's only designed to do what you're trying to do on it and nothing else, you can get a lot of work done because it keeps the distraction rates down. So
that's one of my main things using PowerPC. I love just doing the work, no distractions,
no Facebook,
no notifications. Yep, none of that garbage. Yeah, I love it.
Means no watching anybody stream this week, Jay.
I got my phone.
Oh, you got your phone. You could
cheater.
And we're not saying you can't use other machines.
I know.
I'll probably have
And you can watch streaming on quads.
Yeah. Well, trust me, I'm not going to give up iRacing either, so I will be using my Pro under Windows for that. Yeah.
Use machine
Yeah.
too, but try and use.
Yeah. But one of the things I want to caveat on this too, and to be very careful, is I would not recommend doing financial transactions and stuff using the PowerPC, just because of the updates that are like non-existent for the last 10 years. So
Yeah.
But Tin for Fox, even though they recommend against it, I think it is still pretty darn
I
secure.
would
It's
not-
got the latest
I wouldn't go
security
there.
updates.
I would not.
Yeah. Don't buy anything with a credit
I
card.
wouldn't do it either, but you could probably get away with it.
Don't
Okay.
even say could
Yeah.
probably.
Grudy's giving out some bad advice. Do not do it. I'm telling you right now, because
Listen to Jay and
yeah,
GT
and Rocky, because
Well, then in that case, just boot it into Linux. There, you have no problem after that.
no. But anyways, and also that reminds me that even if you do boot it into Boot Camp with Windows 7, that is also now not supported anymore, even though it's just as of,
Recently
2
killed
days
off
ago.
Yesterday.
So,
Which is weird because Microsoft is still supporting it with the new Edge browser.
Well, there's caveats
yeah.
to that. You have
Anyways,
to understand the
let's
reason
not
that
get into
Microsoft
People
Windows.
is
just
there,
love
but
saying the word
Yeah.
we're not
caveat.
gonna go
but
there.
let's not get into the window. I just wanted to mention that because that that's also being not supported anymore, and XP has been supported for years. So,
Technically, it was until the end of the early part
Yeah.
of 2019.
All right. This ain't Windows, Yak. Move it on.
all right, exactly. All right, so that is our Power PC challenge for this week, and we're going to try to make this an annual thing. So this is actually the second annual MacYak Power PC challenge.
Yep.
So
And Jay has sponsored both of them as the primary, and he would love you to put your stories to him.
yep.
All right. I'll see if I can post my story. It'll probably just be me complaining about how slow it is, but we'll see how it turns out.
Still a story.
Still a story. All right, so our next topic tonight is innovation. What does Apple have to do to become innovative again? I know
this is a
we've
good one.
kind of talked about this before on MacYak.
Yeah, but this time the topic has a twist.
Exactly. The twist is innovation all about who has the best gimmick like a folding phone, or is that innovation anticipate what people need rather than what they want? Also, here's the thing we want you guys in the chat to think about and tell us this. If you were Apple's CEO tomorrow, what changes would you make first? I mean, how...
Fire Tim Cook.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of us, including us here at MacYak, we complain and bitch and moan a lot about crap Apple does, okay?
Tim Cook.
However, we haven't offered any suggestions on what we would do better. So that's what we're going to talk about, is what we would do.
Release 9.3.
Yeah.
Wow, I love you,
Bring
Steve.
QuickTime 7 back.
Yeah,
Yes.
what we would do better. So,
Well, what I would do better is I'd bring back expandability to the mainline Macs,
That's a
basically
good
all of them.
Like,
That's
I'm gonna
literally
look
it.
into that one before I have to step out for a minute. I would let engineers create the computers, not people like Johnny Ive. Let
Yeah.
the engineers
Yes.
create a computer, have some oversight to make sure they don't cram 500 USB ports in the damn thing, because engineers can get a little silly.
okay, but
Let engineers do their job.
on the
Make
flip
us a nice computer.
on the flip side of that, Jay, when you let engineers design something, they design it to what they would like it to look like. For instance, the user interface,
No.
No.
Let them design
The
the
hardware.
internals.
but
Yeah.
the user interface, because we had I used to fly J-Stars in the Army, and engineers built the UI for J-Stars, and it was a pain in the ass to use.
That's why I'm saying let engineers do their job. They want expandability. They want all that
Yeah.
stuff. Have some oversight to make sure they don't go overboard, but don't let the whole company be run by people like Johnny.
I
Ive.
agree with you on that, but
Yeah.
they definitely have to have some
There
oversight.
needs to be a balance.
Designers need to rein in, engineers. Engineers need to rein in designers. They have to work together.
It's
They need to
a
compromise.
fine balance that works
I agree
really
with
well.
Bruce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
And with that, I'm going to step outside
Okay.
for a minute. I'll be right
Now,
All right.
my thing is about Apple is I think it's like Grudy said, is they need to make expandability.
Yeah.
Okay, because you get the iMac line, which I can see the reason why they came out with it, because they brought it to a group of users that don't like to tinker with stuff. That's what that was actually made for. It was made for users that had no clue on how to change out a graphics card, how to add a modem in it or a Wi-Fi card or anything like that. They don't do stuff like that. They go and buy a computer, they want it to work, and then they go home and it works. Okay,
But
that's
in that same
Your gateway
Sorry, go
to the
ahead.
internet, plain and simple.
exactly.
Yeah, but in the same regard, you know what? When I think of an iMac and with what you guys are saying on that, my thought is I think back to the LC line, the original little tiny pizza box Mac. It was easy to open up. You could easily clean it. It didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out how to maintain that thing, and it was a great little machine. It's
They
just
had
like
an expansion slot.
Yep.
yeah. So it didn't. If they think in that same line, maintained, keep it alive, good machine, it does what it's supposed to do. Great, go forward with that.
Yeah.
But the one thing they really need to do is make their designs thicker so they cool better.
Exactly. Now, Dana said something in here. Make hardware, and this is a good one here. Make hardware repairable and upgradable again. Remove the T2
Yes.
chip. Put a moisture barrier
Yes.
in the laptops after they start getting built better. Implement better cooling and lose Tim Cook. All of those I agree with Dana on. Every last one of those.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree.
But if you're going to be a CEO, you have a choice to make. And I'm sorry I have to go here. Do you keep involving yourself and your company and by extension your customers in all the 1,000,001 political fights you're raging? Feminism,
No.
gay,
No.
No.
straight,
You-
this, that.
No.
Absolutely
Everything
not.
That
they're
should
doing.
be
Or do you go back to what Steve used to do and just stay out of
Exactly.
everything? Just be Apple, do your own thing, don't have an opinion, and if you do it
exactly.
somewhere else.
That I agree with. I agree
Yes,
with you.
they should not have any company. I'm not saying just Apple. Any company out there should not be political at all. They should not even be able to donate to a political cause. To be honest with
I
you,
agree. I agree.
that right there is that's a no-brainer right there. I mean, they should not be able to do any of that stuff
I
because
mean,
all you're doing with that is, for instance, in this country, is you're going to alienate half your customers, no matter which
picking a
way,
side.
Exactly.
whichever way you go. Okay,
Yep.
if you're conservative, if they're a conservative company, then they're alienating all the liberals. If they're a liberal company, they're alienating all the conservatives. So,
Exactly.
you want to
Yeah.
you want to be off the fence on both sides.
Being a political science major and graduating with a degree in it,
Oh, God.
I can basically say it's better just to keep your opinion to yourself and just
Sell stuff.
yeah. You don't want to be in the middle of everything. You just want to be like Sweden,
Yeah. So yes,
Nice example.
I agree with Jay on this though too. Is that Apple needs to get out of all that stuff. Get out of, like, for instance, okay. One of the things I just read a thing about is Apple is not allowing the FBI to get into iPhones. I totally agree with that. I do not want any backdoors into any of my software on my Apple products. So
I think that's BS though, because the NSA is still cracked.
well, if they can't crack some of this stuff, then they've got a problem.
They say that. You know better than that.
But anyways, I don't want. I want the government to have a hard a time as possible getting into my stuff. Okay, let's put it to you that way. I don't want it to be easy. I don't like my stuff being snooped into. Because here's the thing about this.
And it's coming from a guy that used to
Yeah.
work for the government.
Exactly. Here's the
All the more
thing.
reason to listen to him.
Here's the thing, though.
exactly.
If Apple decides to put a back door in, okay, for the government only, you can guarantee, and I can make a I'll bet you a whole year's salary. Within a few days, some hacker is going to find that backdoor and they're going to exploit it.
Absolutely.
It's gonna
Well, you
happen.
work at Best Buy, so that's not an attractive bet.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, I do have a retirement salary too, so Jay. So there you go.
Oh, so 2 salaries on the line. Okay.
So, but I don't think anybody here is going to take that bet because that is going to be a fact. I mean, when you start adding ways to get in, hackers find them immediately. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. I mean, and once they find them, they're not going to sit there and tell people. They're just going to start stealing your stuff and stealing your credit card info, whatever else they can get. So, you know, no backdoor stuff. So I applaud Apple on that part.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No.
Even without a backdoor created by Apple, there is plenty of malware out there that already does a great job without permission.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is a ton of malware out there for the Mac, and everybody, as soon as they see a dialog on their screen, they just type or click anything to get it out of their way.
Yeah.
There is plenty of malware out there that's already doing this, stealing information, uploading your eyesight footage, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So, and you want to give people an actual documented backdoor? That's just insane.
Yeah. So that would be one of the things I would actually keep up with that. I mean, I'm not going to get into the politics of all this, but you know, that's something that Apple should continue doing. They should not give up on privacy, customer privacy.
I agree. Yeah.
Now, we haven't heard
that's something
from
I
Bruce
agree on with Apple.
And Mike, though. I mean, we heard some from Steve,
Yeah.
but Bruce and Mike.
Well, especially Bruce. He's in Australia. So what is your take on that, Bruce? Because I want to hear what in Australia.
Yeah, look. Yeah, I mean, look, I tend to agree that the I'm not some worries terribly about that sort of stuff, but I definitely agree that sort of Apple need to stick to their guns with the security aspect of it. You know, sort of you know, it's the whole you know, oh, you're helping criminals or something like that by doing this. I don't subscribe to that at all. I mean, they've basically made this technology, and I think that, you know, sort of they need to stick by that. You know, I mean, regarding the aspect of sort of you know, sort of Apple and improvements. I mean, I agree with everything that everyone has sort of said here so far. I mean, I'm working on a MacBook Pro 13-inch 2017 model. I'm repairing it for someone at the moment. I mean, that thing has got 2 USB-C ports on it. 2 ports. And
Yeah.
That's enough, man. That's enough.
If you need to charge it, there's one gone. So now we've got 1 port left over, you know.
At
And,
least it's not a MacBook with 1 USB-C port.
yeah, I mean, I just, you know, the thing you always have to look at with these things is that Apple is answerable to shareholders, and all they really
Yes.
all they really care about is you know, sort of selling more units. So it's very difficult, I think, to make any sort of argument if they are selling their products. If the products are continuing to sell, if the profits are continuing to go up, no one is going to turn around and say, hey, look, we need to rethink the way we do things here. And that's always the scary thing with a big company like that.
Yeah. Well, if you notice what I was showing to you here, this is what I use, my solution to the 2 USB-C ports.
Yep.
Is a dock that I plug up to it, and it gives me 2 USB-A's, 2 more USB-C's.
Oh, lovely. A dongle.
It's not actually a dongle. This is actually a dock. It docks straight to it.
Same damn thing, buddy.
But it's still connected directly to the MacBook. Okay, so it's not a bunch of...
You're holding a solution to a problem that Apple created.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Okay, but here's the thing though. Okay, Apple is doing the same things on the new MacBooks that they did years ago on the first iMac. Okay, when they got rid of the floppy drive. Okay,
Yes.
they did the same exact thing. Everybody bitched and complained about, oh, they got rid of the floppy. So guess what? Nobody cares anymore about a floppy, right? Okay.
Getting rid of all the ports is not the floppy
It's
rid of solution.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, no, you can't really
No, the
compare
bigger
that.
issue
No,
was
it's-
them
it's-
dropping.
I have a freaking computer that's a PC.
Okay.
The
And
bigger
try to
issue
copy
was
Apple.
them dropping all the legacy ports.
Yeah,
That
obviously
was the
Greg
big
did not
issue.
watch my video because this is exactly what I talked about.
Yeah.
But
Can I put in 2 more things that I would put on my CEO list?
well, hold on 1 second, Jay. I just
right.
want to comment on this. The port thing is, I can see why Apple got rid of all the legacy ports, because look at a PC nowadays. How many different ports are on all around that thing? I mean, I saw a GIF one time of a computer that had like 50 or 60 something different ports, trying to emulate every port that's available out there today.
You're looking at one.
Yeah. So
But what's wrong with having ports like that? Honestly,
okay, here's
Courage.
yeah. Steve just said it. Courage. Yeah. No, but to be honest with you, though, the USB-C was designed to replace all of those ports,
yeah, it's true.
and forcing people to start buying USB-C products, okay, is what's going to actually drive this. So in the next, I'd say 4 or 5 years, you're going to see more USB-C stuff out there, and then
Yeah.
people are going to be like, "Oh, I don't want to use that USB-A or anymore, or a FireWire or HDMI port, because everything's going to be USB-C."
Yeah, but
I
FireWire's
agree,
been
but
dead
it's not the
since 19
technology. It's not the technology that bothers me. USB-C is great. It's the amount of ports they give you. Look at the first MacBook Air. It
That-
had 1 USB port. People
USB
bought it because it was.
It had a power supply as well.
Yeah.
You had the MagSafe and you had 2 USB ports. So now the MagSafe has become one of the ports. We've actually lost one.
Yeah.
So
Now, here's the thing. When we're talking about what Apple should do for innovation, they backward innovated getting rid of the MagSafe. I think the MagSafe
Yes.
was the best
Yeah.
thing they ever came out with.
MagSafe was a
Yes,
fantastic.
it was.
Yes.
But like I've had times where I've been sort of demonstrating a MagSafe to like sort of PC users that don't know anything about Macs, and it just always leaves them gobsmacked at how useful that is. That you sort of kick the
Well,
cable and it just pops out.
Here's a real life example of this. My wife has a new MacBook Pro, just like I do, with the USB-C. She had it plugged in. We were at a hotel room, and she got caught in the cord, and guess what happened? It pulled the MacBook off.
Wham.
Yeah, luckily the MacBook survived, but the cable didn't. The cable was bent. I mean, where the USB-C
See,
was.
at least if you do that with a Mac Pro, you trip and the Mac Pro is fine.
Yeah.
You
So,
get sent to the hospital.
But what you said, Greg,
For the
it does
place
tie
of the
into
Mac
what
Pro.
I wanted to say. I would be proud of my history. Apple seems to forget and never mention again everything they did before today. And I would support the communities. Say, hey, you got an SE recapped up and running. Here's some software that we have in our archives. Have at it.
Mhm.
I'm glad you were a customer then. Glad you're a customer now. Have a blast. And when you need to run the latest Office or whatever, we're here for you when you need a new MacBook Pro.
yes.
And I would fight like hell. But that also kind of ties back to what Bruce said. You do have shareholders to account to.
Mm-hmm.
I would fight as a CEO for right to repair.
Mhm.
Because no
I'd
matter
look at
how
it and
many
go,
people
"Look."
are going to repair their stuff, you're always going to sell new stuff. That's
Yeah.
just the way it is.
Well, here's the thing
Well,
too.
you're not going to sell new stuff if you don't sell the old stuff, because if somebody can't afford to buy the new stuff because they didn't sell their old stuff, you're not selling anything.
Well,
No,
here's
but
here's the thing though.
I'm going to buy new stuff once my Mac Pro is not good enough anymore to do what I want it to do. I'm going to have to upgrade. Everybody that keeps their old Macs alive has at least one modern Intel Mac to fall
Yeah.
back on.
But here's
Yeah.
here's the good thing about that too, Jay, and you mentioned this, is if somebody buys something old, that means somebody that had it before sold it to them as an older machine. Therefore, that person just bought a new iMac or Mac or whatever. So you're getting more and more people that can't afford the new stuff into the Mac or the Apple ecosystem. And guess what? They're going to later on down the road, like you just said, they're going to buy a new one. You're just getting more customers, even though they're not making the money off of it right away. Down the road, they're going to make it.
Yeah, but let's be real. They're a corporation. All they care about is the cash.
Well, that's because the shareholders.
That's because we're not the CEO.
Once they incorporate
Well,
it.
we're playing a what-if game here.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
We want a successful company that makes lots of money and also advances the world in a better way.
I want a Quadra 850 AV.
But you know what? Man. When they might be the richest company now, but when they did make Macs without a bizarre list of problems like your keyboard failing or your screen delaminating or all that stuff, when they made computers with ports, with I/O, and with expandability, they were a huge, successful, profitable company.
Well, you'd have to blame Steve Jobs for that in a way because he hated having expandability. That's the reason why he kind of hated the Apple II.
Apple II, yeah.
Because Steve Wozniak loved the fact that people were putting stuff in there because he was a tinkerer. He loved that people would doing things that he never thought of.
Built it for expansion.
Yeah, he loved it because he loved seeing people do things with it that he didn't think of. You know,
we're putting Mike to sleep. Come on, man.
So
jump in on this.
But anyways, I mean, Steve Jobs just hated it. And that's the reason why the Macintosh, when it first came out, was not expandable.
There was almost a port on there. Almost a port.
There was
Very
almost.
interesting stories to read about what almost was.
Yeah. But I'm willing to bet you Steve Jobs nixed that before it got out.
That's exactly what happened. Folklore.org, I believe, is the website. There's a good story on that.
Yep.
Which port was that?
There was supposed to be an expansion bus on the Macintosh. They tried to hide it as something else. I'll look up the story as you guys chat.
Oh, like the mezzanine slot or another slot?
Kind of like that. Hold on.
It might have been like the SC when the SE came out. That might have been the port that they were trying to mask or whatnot.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I bet the person who tried putting it on there without Steve seeing probably got fired shortly after.
Nope, he was. I believe it was Andy Hirschfeld or one of the higher ups that tried to. I'll find it.
Then Andy would have not got fired.
I spoke to him long ago. He's good.
I don't think he would have fired Andy.
The only yacker we haven't heard from, Mike.
Is Mike.
Yeah, what's your take on it, dude?
Oh, this please.
My man.
Oh, this please.
Is he asleep? Is he asleep?
He's laughing. He's awake.
I'm awake.
That's a hard day.
Well, he's been moving a lot, so he has an excuse.
Jay, what did you do to your video? Now you're a different box size.
Yeah, how'd you do that?
I don't know. I didn't do anything.
What sorcery is this?
Rotate up and rotate back down.
And it's still
diagnostic port.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
That's weird.
So, if Mike was a CEO of Apple, what awesomeness could we anticipate?
Give the customers what they want.
Yeah.
God damn it,
not what we think they should have.
Or what they want, right? And Jay, I don't know what you did now, but in the Skype window, you're weird, but it's fine in the OBS.
Yeah, it's fixed now.
I see myself fine on the stream.
Yeah, you're fine on the stream. I'm just saying on the Skype side is weird.
Screw Skype.
Yeah. It's a Microsoft product, so.
I mean, Apple have obviously had some incredible innovations throughout their time, and obviously the iPhone being one of them. You know, that was obviously a huge game changer for them, and made a real, really big difference to the profitability of the company. But I mean, do you think there are any more innovations like that to be had? I mean, is that something that Apple can do? Can they conjure something like that up again?
Well, I might look at innovation in a different way than most people. For me, innovation is not putting a better camera in an iPhone or a faster chip. That's evolution.
I agree.
It's not innovation.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. And that's the
innovation
same
is, the iPhone. The first iPhone, it was a revolutionary product that no one else had.
Samsung releasing the full screen, fold together phone.
Well,
folded
here's
phone,
the thing. There,
you
here's a
know.
little interesting note about that. When the iPhone was announced, Android or I think it was Android had to actually change their operating system because they were coming out with another keyboard. Who is barking?
My dogs.
Okay,
Mute yourself, Woody, please.
They're upstairs in a whole different
Mute
room.
yourself, please. They're very loud.
dogs.
yeah. Anyways, all right. There we
Rudy,
go.
come on.
I just muted him.
Haha.
So, anyways, now what was we going to talk about here? So now I lost my train of thought because
You were talking about how Android had to
Okay.
change what they had already created.
Android actually had to change their operating system completely because what they were coming out with was another keyboard like BlackBerry type phone or whatnot. They had to redesign their phone completely. Motorola, I think, came out with the first Android powered phone, which was I want to say it was the G3 or something like that. I can't remember what they called it.
The Samsung G3 with the flip-out keyboard.
Something like that, yeah. But they actually had to redesign that phone after the iPhone came out because they knew that what they were coming up with was not going to sell. So they actually changed in mid-stride to change their product up. So Apple was driving Samsung to innovate on their end.
Yeah.
Driving
Well,
innovation.
I don't see that really as innovation either. But
Well, it was forcing them because it was forcing their hand because
Apple was 100% touch, and the Android OS still supported a
Keyboard.
design that was
Physical
very
buttons.
yep.
similar. Yeah, which was similar to that crappy. We're not even going to talk about it. Barf OS that the company that shall not be named designed. I mean, that was a horrendously terrible operating environment. Just saying. Even for a phone, it was bad.
Yeah.
the way Steve used to be is, and this might not really be innovation either, but when he ditched the floppy drive, when he switched the primary I/O over to USB, that was a well thought out move.
It
Steve
was.
was very good in giving us what we needed, not what we wanted, you know, and he was good at it, and he got it, he nailed it most of the time.
I would agree.
Stuff like moving to USB-C, it's not a
It
selfish.
should have been transitional.
Well, it's not a selfish move. Apple doesn't have anything to gain by switching to USB-C. They don't sell any product. Now they do, all the dongles and stuff, which is a huge profit for them. But
They're doing it
you
for
know,
fad.
removing the headphone jack is solely to drive sales of your AirPods.
Yep.
That's it. There's
And
no
Beats.
reason to remove that thing.
No, there isn't.
That is not innovation. That's not thinking, oh, this might be what people want. That's purely selfish, pushing sales of your own product. That's not innovation. That's a step backwards in my book.
Yeah.
I agree 100% with
Well,
you.
especially okay. Let's look at Jay right now. Jay's using his phone and he's using headphones for it. He's using wired headphones, so he can't charge at the same time.
Hell yeah, I can.
Oh well, yeah, you got that little dongle.
I had to
It's
get
a
a
dongle.
Belkin.
Pay for a special dongle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a dongle.
Bruce has one too.
Yeah. So, but that's that's the drawback of that.
Apple
is
tax.
That you have to buy something special in order to use it. Now, I agree with Jay. I think getting rid of the headphone jack was a stupid idea because now. But here's the thing. Guess who's
Everybody saw Mike
Everybody-
was showing off. He had to show off his
Yeah.
freaking headphone jack. Come on, man.
But
What
here's
the hell? Make me feel bad. I left my iPhone 6S. Damn
but
it.
here's the thing though. All the new Samsung phones coming out don't have a headphone jack anymore. So guess what? They're trying to be the same as Apple. I mean,
Yeah,
As
stuff
they
like
usually do.
Touch ID. Touch ID, I think, was a great. I'll call that an innovation. You know, it was not a logical step in the evolution of the product. It was innovation, and it worked well. Face ID is a gimmick. It was not necessary to replace Touch ID. It just wasn't.
I agree with
So
you.
every time they
I
do
agree.
something that can be considered innovation, they take a step back next year by doing something completely stupid and selfish.
Yep.
But they didn't do that with Steve Jobs, which shows you how far Apple has fallen from the tree, so to
Yeah.
speak.
So one of the advantages that Steve had, of course, was that Apple eventually appreciated the value of the creator, the innovator, having someone like that on board, and people listened to him.
Yes.
Is there anyone now that will have the same clout, the same pull, if they said, "Hey, we should do this"? Shareholders might have listened to Steve, but are they going to listen to anyone else?
I think it was Johnny Ive. He had that kind of pull, which is why we had a decade of crappy products.
Yep.
I would agree with Jay.
He got his way for everything, and just like a typical, the kind of person that he is. If you see his interviews, if he doesn't get what he wants, he's like, "Hey, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home." He's like a child when he doesn't get his way. Now that he's gone, I mean, he still works with Apple, but he's not there to whisper in everybody's ear. Hopefully, things will take a different turn. But the list of what I would do as CEO, the kind of innovation that I think people would want, the list is endless, and I would be here for 5 hours. But I think they can pull it off. They just need to find. They need to find someone that thinks like Steve, basically.
And anybody in here that says I need to call him Sir Johnny Ive, nope, not going to happen.
Hell no.
He is
and
not.
Here's the other thing. Okay, let's lay it out there. I personally, and I would think that most of us in the crew would agree that we don't hate on Johnny because he did bring a certain aesthetic that is nice. However, there needs to be that balance.
Yeah, it's that whole thing of making sure they stay reined in.
Yes. That's exactly what I was circling back to. He did good work. Like the iMac, it was sexy. It sold like crazy. Everybody wanted it. But he went
exactly what Apple needed.
It's like it's like the painter that accidentally drops a can of paint on a canvas. Someone says, "Oh, I want to buy that for $5 million. That's art," and they just get lost in themselves, think they're God's gift to man, and just go off the rails. And that's what happened with Johnny, I think, or in my opinion.
I would 100% agree.
By the way, guys, if I can interject really quick, I think this is the most people we've had consecutively watching ever.
Yeah,
Hi, everybody.
All right, dude.
Hi,
Do you actually look at the iMessage chat? Because I said that about 30 minutes ago.
Did
He
you?
doesn't multitask. He's like OS 8.6.
Well, I'm not signed into iMessage on this Mac.
There you
So.
go.
So anyhow, we've got Johnny Ive as a guest on next week's show.
I wish. I actually emailed Tim Cook a few months ago. Like, screw it. That's never heard back, of course. But, yeah, I would love to, not to rag on him, but I'm not going to be like, ooh, I'm so impressed by your fame and fortune. I'm not going to say what I want to say, but who knows? Maybe offline or during something like MacYac, he's way different than when he's interviewed by the New York Times. It might actually open up and have a fun conversation.
Yeah, who knows?
If any of the Apple staff
The price is right.
watching this ever, open invitation, drop us a line. We'll gladly have you on.
Yes.
No, I
We'll
want
be
to talk.
gentle.
I want to talk to the old people that were there during the Power Mac era. I want to talk to them.
Yes.
I would, the
But they're
person,
not at Apple
since
anymore.
we're talking about stars that we would like to have on here, the one person I would love to ever get on here is Steve Wozniak.
Wozniak, yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
man.
about to say that.
I don't know.
and Andy Hertzfeld.
Can you imagine what our viewership would be if Steve Wozniak came on here?
Probably about the same still, but still.
No.
I'll
Actually,
see what I can do.
if we put that out there and said, hey, Steve Wozniak's going to be on our next MacYac on all of our chats, groups that we're on, we would blow it up, probably.
Yes, I would actually have to shave for the occasion.
We don't have to mute our mics. We don't have to be professional.
Right? Kick the dogs outside. Like, none of that.
Yeah, we.
By the way,
Grudy
Mr.
would be
Leakey
uninvited,
says,
though.
must be the professional backgrounds that bring in the crowds.
Ah.
I will acknowledge that today's background was made by Mr. Leakey, and I'm kind of digging the light bulb thing.
I like it too.
So,
I
thank
like
you.
Okay.
Wait, who
so,
left? Someone left.
I think Charlie did.
Oh, okay. He'll be back.
He's frozen time there, so everybody meme him.
Welcome to the Mac. Yeah, you've been memed.
All right, guys. So let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. We got still a lot more to go, guys, and we're going to be running overtime tonight. That's for sure. All right. So our next topic tonight is board recapping. Okay. We got two guys in here that's been doing it like daily, I think, on live streaming for a couple of weeks now. Bruce does it for actually a living, or sort of a living, I guess. And Steve does it just for fun with no flux, I heard, and
I've caught the disease, and Bruce is my mentor. I am just a mere Luke Skywalker to a Yoda. That's what's going on.
I think Steve's been sniffing the lead-based solder again.
No, it's lead-free, but that's the problem. There are different chemicals in there that's making me a little crazy.
Yeah, been there.
That's okay. You don't have that many brain cells left to fry, so we're okay.
Oh, damn.
Thanks. Last time I drive and help you.
But the idea was, as Steve is new to the whole recapping experience, I mean, he's tried recapping stuff before years ago, but now he's actually getting into it. I wanted to hear from Steve as a new, fresh set of eyes on it. What are the do's? What are the don'ts? Tips, tricks, whatever you think you have discovered in your 3-week journey so far. Instead of people like Bruce just saying, I know everything. This is what you need to do. I kind of want to hear from you.
Yeah, the most important thing that I've learned, and this is, I go back to when I first started doing this a while back, is try and learn about others that have done the same thing you're about to do. It never hurts to just see what experience others have had. Because if you take this knowledge of like, oh, I could just do this. No, you're going to screw it up like I did. So don't do that. Don't be an idiot. Learn about what the heck you're dealing with. The machines, if they're problematic, if one gives up traces, like the LC3 I messed with, learn about the tools that you have to use, learn about the techniques you should be using, learn about the consumables like the solder and the wick and all that stuff.
Not $5 soldering iron.
Yeah, don't cheap out on that stuff because it will come back to bite you. I'm refixing this Quadra 840 AV board I have here that died of natural causes, and I tried to fix it a few years ago. Now I'm trying to do that again. Hindsight is 2020, of course, so it never hurts to ask for advice. It'll help you not screw up once in a while. It's something that I've been very, very grateful to Bruce, because I would probably have spent a lot more time doing research or a lot more time hearing conflicting opinions online and trying to figure out what the best path is. If you're going to repair something very specific, like an old vintage Macintosh, find somebody who knows what they're talking about. Find someone on YouTube, on Facebook, on a message group or a forum or a hobbyist group or something like that, and reach out to them, because you'll learn a heck of a lot. And I think that's just like the stepping stone of diving into this deeper world, because otherwise, you can't do it alone. There's people that have been doing this stuff for years. It'll be foolish to think that you could just hop in with no knowledge and do something better. Hey, you might be great at it, but you might screw up royally there. So, and the second thing I want to say is take your time. We all love doing live streams, we all love a happy ending, and we all love for things to work perfectly. This is reality. It's not going to happen like that.
Easy for you to say. Everything you touch so far works.
Even the stuff you've completely destroyed still works.
Amazingly, yeah.
No comment. Anyway, the first recap job I did took over 8 hours. I took breaks in between and whatever, and also when you're live streaming, things add up. The second one I did after that, it was like I cut the time in half, and the one after that was, I think, 2 hours. So as you practice, you're going to get better. The last thing I'll say is practice with something you don't care about. An old busted VCR, an old TV, an old PC motherboard, something you found in the trash. Test your tools out on something that is not 30 years old and is not irreplaceable. You don't want to screw up on a Macintosh Plus or an Apple III or an LC3 Plus. that you can't go out and easily find a replacement part for because you were getting trigger happy with your soldering iron. So
Unless you're
agree with
Steve.
that.
unless you're me, yeah, sure. But yeah, and be safe. I mean, you're dealing with heat, you're dealing with some chemicals there. Make sure you have a well-ventilated environment, and make sure that you read up on what to do in case you do hurt yourself there, because this is supposed to be a fun activity. You don't want to injure yourself, and obviously you want to try and make sure your Mac is as healthy as you are. So that's my experience from starting out.
Now, someone might be curious. Okay, I've seen you do it on stream. I hear people talk about it all the time. Why should I care, and why would I want to do this myself? Is it fun? Is it boring? Is it scary? What's the value in doing this myself?
Well, the value in doing it yourself, and the reason why you should do it, is because Macintosh computers, as Bruce says, of a particular vintage, have electrolytic capacitors that now they're 25, 30 years old, love to leak, and they do have PRAM batteries that love to explode. And when that happens, it essentially destroys your machine. So here are some capacitors that no longer exist, and you could probably place spot where the battery was on this beautiful area right here. So nobody would be recapping these machines if there was no purpose on doing so. It is most importantly for the survival of the darn computer. Machines that are, let's say, before 1998 or something like that, depending on the model, depending on the manufacturing date and all that stuff, will run into this issue. It's not an if. Most machines will run into this issue. Now is a better time than ever to get this done. Just, learn about it. If you can't do it, send it to somebody like Bruce who does do it. And, otherwise these machines are just going to sit and rot away. And you'll be one of those losers on Facebook Marketplace trying to sell untested Macintosh in a few years that no one's going to end up buying.
Or you'll be on our what were they smoking? Because you're trying to buy it for you're trying to sell it for way too much.
Yeah. Trying to
I have a horror story.
Now, sorry, let me cut in real fast because it's in my hand and a little heavy. There is the advantage. Computers like this, the old LC lines, power supply goes to crapville before the board does. You can recap a lot of stuff and have yourself a very nice vintage machine.
Not anymore.
There you go. That was not connected, apparently.
Another keyboard meme.
Yeah. Okay, so... But yeah, anyway, you can have yourself a very nice board, very nice system with a bad power supply that needs recapping for what people think is recycled trash, even though it's a good machine. All you got to do is recap the power supply. So that's another point to be made for recapping yourself.
Power supply, any analog boards, any video circuitry, especially on CRT machines. There's a whole other safety thing in there. Bruce has a great video about CRT safety and stuff like that. So, just look around. If you have a question, our Discord is a perfect to ask that, and we'll hook you up with the right links and get you started.
Yep.
And of course, the wonderful thing is that that feeling of fixing it yourself, and that can be very addictive. You fix one and you think, okay, what else can I fix? Let's find
Steve
another.
was about to stream over our Mac slot. Like, we had to force him to stop.
I stopped.
Now, would you say that once you have a gateway drug like recapping an old board, does that help you eventually get a better understanding of electronics? And does it help you fix your kid's toy car or your remote control down the road?
I've been obsessed with electronics since I was a kid, and me being a cheapskate, I try and fix everything before throwing it out. I've repaired the circuit board on my oven, I've repaired the membranes on my microwave, and I've replaced the circuitry on my plasma television. So it is a gateway drug. Once you start trying to fix things, when you start trying to build things, you just want to keep doing that again and again. And I think it's an excellent hobby to get into, because instead of throwing something out, maybe you get something that's used, you fix it up, and you accomplish something, and you get to use that thing every day.
Yep.
And a lot of times your relatives bring broken garbage to you and are like...
And they never pay you.
Yeah, exactly. Jay's right, 100%.
So,
Yeah.
I think Charlie wants to say something over there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've had a few things I wanted to say. I've been losing a lot of connection because of my phone, and I wanted to actually go back briefly to the LC thing. This is my LC that I have here, and as Rocky was saying, these power supplies on the LCs actually break before the boards do, and that was actually the case with this thing. I bought it broken, and it was just a simple power supply replacement. I didn't even have to replace all the caps, and it functioned again, which is pretty nice. So and everything works. The floppy works. The hard drive works, and everything works except for the sound, which I'm gonna have to fix with a board recap, which I'm kind of dreading. But it shouldn't be too difficult. I have a bit of faith in myself, so yeah.
I don't have a lot of faith in your soldering iron.
Yeah. Your soldering iron, you need to get a new one.
I know it's like probably older than everybody here.
It's not the age. It's not the age.
Probably a Wi-Fi soldering iron.
Yeah. Trust me, get you a good SMC workstation because it comes with a soldering iron and a hot air gun with temperature control for both. You can pick them up for about $35, you know.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I would generally say to anyone, if you're thinking of getting into recapping, if you don't have a soldering iron with adjustable temperature, go and get one.
Yeah.
Don't attempt it until you have one.
Yep.
All right, it's good to know.
But wait, what's more important than any of that? Flux.
Oh, yes, flux.
I've learned that myself.
Yeah.
Drink it. It's delicious. No.
Get really close to the board, you'll start sweating it out. You'll always have enough. Steve, can you look at the group chat for a second when you have a minute?
My apologies.
Oh, good.
And I can say on the LC stuff, just kind of cap on there because I've owned everything from an LC to an LC3 Plus. The power supply has the same issue on all the models. The boards are fairly solid. It's the stupid power supplies.
They all have the same one, so they're all destined to fail at some point. Like all the pizza box ones, especially. I'm not sure about the newer ones, but all I really know is that it's those ones. So
for anyone interested, there is an LC power supply recapping guide on my recapping website. If anyone does want to give it a try.
I love you, Bruce. I'll be using it.
Handful of capacitors now that need to be replaced, and you can get those power supplies back up and running again. So.
And it is really a good feeling when I don't recap old stuff like Steve and Bruce, but I do recap some power supplies, and it is a great feeling fixing it yourself.
Yeah, and that's a perfect resource. Bruce's website. He has guides. He has videos. No matter how you learn it, perfect way to go.
Yep.
Yeah, Steve has a few 8-hour videos.
Of what not to do.
Enough money, certain people in the MacYak crew do recapping jobs for money. You can possibly pay them to do it.
We do several things for money, but let's stick to the recapping.
Recapping. I think let's see, delidding, pixelless mod, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's
always someone out there that wants to help out, that has done it before.
And if you guys haven't seen, I do have a video out there. And Bruce, you need to go watch it if you ever get a chance to. It's about an hour and a half long.
Never mind.
It's my pixelless. I did a live stream of me doing a pixelless mod. And I think it only took me less than an hour to actually do the mod, but then the other 30 minutes is actually testing and making sure everything works.
Excellent. Yep, I'll definitely watch that.
But
Jay may or may not sell a Pixeless mod situation.
Yeah. Well, he has stickers too now.
I briefly, because we're about to go into serious overtime here, I make available a guide on my blog. I did a video about the Pixels mod. Greg has done a video on the Pixels mod. There's if you want to get more juice, because Matt is asking what is the Pixels mod. If you want to get a beefier graphics card and you don't want to power it from the board, you splice a cable into your power supply and use that to power your graphics card.
Yes.
Or graphics cards, multiple.
Mm-hmm. Because the biggest drawback with the back plane on the Mac Pro is is it only lets you so much power go through. So some of these power-hungry graphics cards will actually shut your machine down because it says, "Oh, I can't provide that much. I'm shutting myself down to protect myself."
And there's a lot of information out there on how to do this yourself for free. But if you still want someone else to do it, I've had 2 over the last week that I've done for other people. There's always someone out there to help. So go into any of the Facebook groups, go into our Discord, and just say, hey, I don't want to do this myself, whether it's the Pixels mod or recapping a board. Who's here that's good at it and who wants to help me? You pay them a few bucks and, you're up and running. So.
Which, by the way, Jay does a phenomenal job, and he has it all prepackaged and everything. So if you want somebody that does it right, we might know somebody.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Jay.
Yeah. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. We still got a bunch more to go, so we are definitely going to be going
we got
overtime.
30 seconds to cover 5 more topics. Let's
No,
go.
we're going to go overtime tonight. So
Next week.
no, we're going to get all these tonight. Okay, 20 years of OS 10. Let's see. Let me read the thing here. What are some features that are still missing? To be honest with you, I think it has too many features sometimes.
No, but are we talking features that never existed and are still missing, or stuff they took out? Because that's a whole different.
I think either really could be.
Yeah, I think either. Yeah, I agree with Bruce on this.
I have to pay for magnets.
What?
You know, the thing that makes macOS do what Windows 10 already does, where you can squish them. Yeah, exactly. I want that in macOS stock. Sorry, that's my biggest thing. I want that. It works so good.
What does it do?
Well, basically, if you were to drag a window to the right side of your display,
you're talking about
allow you to fill up the half of the display with that window.
I hate that
drag
feature.
It to the top, it fills it to the top and stuff like that. And you can do all kinds of wonderful things with it. I had to pay for an app to do that.
I hate
it's
that
built
feature.
Into
because
sometimes
you hate
it because I love it.
Sometimes
it sounds useful.
If I'm dragging something to the side that I just want to drag a little bit off screen and I accidentally get the cursor too far to the screen, it pops up half my screen. I'm like, no, I don't want it to do that.
You know what's good about a feature? You can turn it off.
That is true.
I mean,
well, depends. It depends. There's some feature, and that's the thing about Mac OS that's kind of a little quirky, is that there's some features in there that they put in there that you can't change or turn off or do anything about because they want you to do that way, you know.
Well, in that case, there's only one I could think of, and I think it ended in Lion. So we're going back to the days of Snow Leopard.
The Stone Age.
If I not that bad. If I had a file that I wanted to label with a color,
oh boy,
the entire file name would get a colored bar around it. Yep. Not that lame ass dot you get now.
Yeah,
I missed that like nothing else.
I agree.
Yep.
I missed the whole folder turning into.
What about What about disk utilities too? Because
god, yeah, we talked at length for how neutered that is.
Yeah. I mean, they have actually cut a lot out of.
Here's
disk
the name
utility.
of your disk. That's it.
Actually, a lot of those functions are still in disk utility. It's just you have to do terminal or show them in menu options.
Jay doesn't do terminal.
Once you get those features, they do not work.
Yeah, half of them are broken.
Sierra and up, something as simple as erasing a flash drive could take 6 tries. It's a disaster. It's a cluster F, and I wish it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Jay.
All the brand new Mac users, Apple reintroduce the Simple Finder and just give all the advanced stuff to us. Give somebody Simple Finder, let them do the Mac.
I love you, Steve.
There's one thing that I've always been very frustrated with, and that's the dock. I totally accept that the dock is pretty and colourful and nice for first-time users and all that sort of stuff. But I have 139 apps in my dock.
What?
And I would really like a different way of launching my apps. Perhaps some way of grouping or something like that. I just sort of feel like, okay, if you've got half a dozen or a dozen in there, it's lovely. It pops up. It looks nice, and everything's great. But yeah, I mean, if you could see my screen at the moment, it's like this little tiny-
I was gonna say I can't see a.
I'll put a screenshot in iMessage.
But
No, in
little,
reality, you can
spaces.
create folders, and it will actually spread out, but you have to do it in your own custom area, and it's
And
a
that
pain in the
runs
butt.
into the issue of when you launch an app, it's still taking up space on the dock, whether it's in a folder or not.
You are
Okay.
well, what about using Launchpad? Because Launchpad does exactly
no.
kind of what you want to
That's
do.
disgusting.
Launchpad, ugh.
I use Launchpad.
I use
all the
Launchpad
time.
all the time
I
too.
feel like
That's
if
it, I quit.
Well, that
Here.
explains it because I
The,
feel
the
like a
problem
5-year-old
is Launchpad
using
doesn't
that.
show every app you have.
Exactly.
Especially if it's an older version of
Useless.
the app.
Oh, are you talking that thing that looks like something out of an Android OS?
You got that
It's
right.
It's like a little
disgusting.
rocket.
It looks like an iPad screen.
Oh,
Here's
no.
all the useless Apple apps you don't use in one convenient screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
I don't really use my dock. I certainly don't use that garbage you're talking about now. I hit Command Space, type the first 3 letters of the app I want. It pops
Wow.
up as Spotlight, and I launch it from there.
All right.
That's not a bad idea. I've
holy
not
what?
used Spotlight very much.
I'm looking at
but
Bruce's.
I have disabled dock or not dock, whatever it is. You know that stupid thing that Grudy was talking about. I disabled.
I'm
it,
looking
man.
at Bruce's dock right now.
Bruce, that is disgusting. What the hell, man? Wow.
What
How
channel
big is your screen?
Wow.
Well, you
Mine's-
gotta put this in Discord for other people.
Mine still says
Oh
downloading.
my god! How do you use that?
GT,
without-
you need to put this in the stream. My God.
Hold on. Let's see if I can pull this in the stream.
Holy.
Yeah,
How big is your
you
screen?
can.
Like 60 inch or something?
That's pretty good, Bruce.
Ooh,
It
dude,
is.
you have hit a world record right there, Guinness Book.
Well, you do double up on a lot of stuff. 3
Yeah,
Yeah,
meters,
Bruce, you really need some
2,000
folders
letters.
there, buddy.
different versions of a few things.
Well, that's
Yeah.
one way to get
I
rid
thought
of your
mine was
notification badges. You can't see them. Wow.
I have multiple versions of some things because I like to launch different versions of some things. I probably need to clean some of those out. I accept that.
Probably.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
can't bring it in there. It's too damn big or too long.
That's what. Oh,
well, that gives people incentive to go on to Discord. and
Yeah,
look
you're gonna
at
have to
it.
go on Discord and look at that because
Yeah, send it on the Discord. I can't even view it myself. I think it's just the internet connection or some crap. Maybe my
I mean, my dock,
My screen-
my dock is pretty bad too. I mean, I've got a lot of apps in mine too, but not as many as that. You've got like 4 times as many.
I didn't know the dock could hold that many apps.
Yeah.
I don't think it has a limit.
And I have an ultra wide screen here, so I can actually probably put way more than you, Bruce.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
mind if I
mine's-
put it on Discord for you, Bruce?
No, not at all. No, mine's 25.
Yeah, put it on
60.
Discord. I want to take a look at this.
See if people can identify. Yeah, we should turn it into a prize. If someone can identify every app.
Looks like you got some of them. You got duplicates of on there. It looks like.
The
Yeah.
picture, I put the picture on Discord. It's not a white line. If you enlarge it, it's actually a dock there. It's in the weekly show channel.
I'm gonna
I feel
upload
like
mine in a
half
second.
an hour, I could probably identify
Yeah.
all those. Honestly.
There's a challenge. There's 139 there. No prizes for 138.
All right, some of the comments here. Holy crap! Why?
Now, Bruce, how did you count them? Manually, I assume.
I counted them this morning
There's
because
no way
I was
to,
I was going to bring
this morning.
I was going to
Every
bring my
morning, count your
grievances to the
dogs,
show. So I thought, I would let people know that once you get to 139, it's not an ideal tool anymore.
Yeah, I believe it.
Do you measure your dock every morning?
That's when you would like to have a dock on the bottom, up the sides, and on the top, right? All the way around
Yep,
the screen.
sure. Or if I could spread them across multiple screens, that would help.
Yeah.
Now, You're, of course, I can't see your desktop in this picture, but I still have a lot of aliases on my desktop that I use, just like the old days.
Looks like your freaking dock.
That's true. My desktops are a little crowded.
That's because Jay refuses to use Stacks.
Stacks is for amateurs. I'm not subscribing to
Stacks
that.
is too new.
Stacks,
for my
I
taste.
love using Stacks. Ever since it came out,
I still have no clue how it
it's
works.
easy. It just whatever files you have on your desktop. If they're like files, it puts them in a its own. It's not a folder. It actually stacks them on top of each other. So when you want to get into that particular stack, you just click on it and it expands everything for you. And then when you click on it,
I'm still in 1013.
when you click on it again, it contracts it back into a stack of stuff. So it keeps your desktop really clean.
Yeah, and I have to say I love
Yes.
that feature. As someone who does end up with loads of stuff on the desktop, I have my desktop designed to always arrange stuff, keep it automatically arranged so I can't sort of move things
You're
around
like
the
me,
desktop.
yep.
And then I have that. Yeah,
Wait, so your desktop is just as bad as your dock?
No, mine.
Oh my
word!
Oh god.
Thanks to Stacks, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
now.
that's what I said. Stacks is awesome. So that's a good thing about
I salute you, Bruce, for also having QuickTime 7 in your dock, sir.
Oh yes, yeah. Who can be without?
You
QuickTime 7?
got someone took you up on your challenge, by the way. Our guest here said, "Give me 30 minutes, and I will identify them all." He currently has 28 minutes left, so we'll see how it goes.
You got to get the exact version of those Adobe products right, also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not CS5. It might be 5.5.
Yeah. I'm just looking through here. I can't. Yeah, I mean. Yeah. I'm not sure. That one will get him.
So Matt is saying, Bruce, why are you intentionally making yourself suffer?
I like to be able to have it all there. It's all there, all accessible.
I don't blame Bruce because
I have a question mark in mind, so it makes it impossible for you to guess.
Clever, very clever.
Okay.
I cannot think of any other features that are still missing or have gone missing. The comments got a little lost on me, but someone was comparing it to OS 9. Where is it?
Well, OS 9 didn't have a dock per se, so
No. We're talking about the dock.
yeah.
It's like this small dock
launcher.
thing. Like,
We had the launcher on the bottom, yeah.
Oh, yes. Dana said, here's one. OS 10 has never been as good at remembering window positions as OS 7, 8, and 9 were. And I agree with that.
I agree with
Yeah.
I
that.
would agree 100%.
Yep,
If you use 7, 8, 9,
And by the way,
10
Steve, your microphone has vastly improved.
Yeah, I walked away with my headphones, and the Mac Pro kept sending audio to here, and I guess the microphone was half-assed. So.
So now we found the problem. So, all right, guys. So we got to move on here. So let's go ahead and go on to our next topic, which is birthdays and news. I think one of the first things we got in here is iTools. iTools turned 20 last week. So I've never used iTools, so I'm gonna let Steve talk about this.
Yeah, I remember some of that.
My iTools or .Mac account or whatever you want to call it is so old that when I called up Apple, and you have to say, how old is it? When I called up Apple about something related to my account, the guy goes, wow, that's a low number you got there. And I'm like, what? He's like, you have a very low number in your registration for the account of when it was created. I said, oh, okay, thank you.
Cool.
So iTools started out with, it was only for Mac users only, and it was free. You got 20 megabytes of personal storage / email.
20?
Storage
What?
space, 20 whole megabytes.
like the
And the idea was that you can create your own little website. You could file share some files from an iDisk, which was pretty interesting at the time. And what was nice is you got an email address, which was @mac.com. That was one of the options you had. Beginning that, you had a few options there, but it was at later on, I mean, but at the beginning, it was just at Mac.com. It was a free service, which was pretty cool. Eventually, that did migrate over to a paid subscription service, which was .Mac. They gave you some more gigabyte options. They increased your storage space. They gave you a better webmail solution because things were evolving right now, and actually they were competing with some other services. I remember actually complaining because I'm like, $100 a year. I'm a kid. I have no job. I can't afford that. But I eventually subscribed to it. But over the years, they kept changing it. They kept adding some features. They took some away. iCards was a very silly thing that I kind of liked.
Disaster.
It was silly, but you would never.
What is iCards?
iCards was a way for you to send electronic greeting cards, states it, to other individuals via email.
Really?
The whole gimmick of it was Apple would, on their product pages, and if you go to archive.org and use the Wayback Machine and go to apple.com and you look at a Power Mac G4 or an iMac G3 or something like that, you'll see a little button that says send an iCard. And I was silly enough to actually use that and be like, I'm going to send an iCard to my dad and say, I want this iMac, because, yeah, that would work. And, they had silly features like that, which are pretty interesting. .Mac eventually evolved, gave you more space. Then things got weird when they shifted to Mobile Me.
Oh, God, I remember Mobile Me.
Disaster.
Yeah.
I liked Mobile Me, but
You weren't working in the retail store, all right?
Yeah.
I have nightmares.
Never having experience with that.
So between that transition and actually a little before that, when Tiger came out, they introduced some iDisk syncing feature, and I've talked about it on the show before, so I'm not going to go into it now, but that screwed up a bunch of things. And Mobile Me was pretty much a disaster. Some things worked, most of the things did not. A lot of people have problems with it, especially because you're paying for a service now. And Steve Jobs famously cursed out the Mobile Me team, saying it was like a failure. And it was one of the few times that on stage they actually mentioned hey, we did a misstep here. It sucked. This is what we're rebranding it as iCloud. And they did that pretty darn quickly, because I think anybody who saw that Mobile Me name was like, oh, this is garbage. Why would I use this?
It was actually me.com. Me.com.
Yeah,
I actually stayed on me.com until the last month it was supported.
So what was interesting is, although they introduced some new features, there was not compatibility across the whole board there. I remember in 2013, I was on a trip. I wanted to upload photos from my iPhone to a Mobile Me shared album. I couldn't create a new album on my phone. I had to remote into my desktop at home, create a new album using a website in a web browser on a desktop, and then I was able to upload. It's just it's weird stuff that nobody really thought of. It was kind of oh, this would be cool, but it was never realized. I think iCloud is much, much better. They still have a long way to go. Their webmail app is still slow as a dog. And their other features, they seem to be adding a lot of stuff there, but I don't seem to use much of it anymore. I basically use the iCloud account for backup and syncing, whereas compared to 15 years ago, I used it for iSync, or 20 years ago, I used it for iSync to sync all my data from my Palm Pilot and my iPod and my PowerBook together. So times have changed, and I realize they got to move things on, but a little history there for those of you who looked around.
I have no fond memories of iTools or anything that came after, and even iCloud still has some serious bugs once in a while. But
it's not perfect. I mean, the coolest thing I thought about .Mac was the integration with iWeb, where you can make your own websites. And
I used that a lot.
Yeah, it was a cool tool, and that got axed also. But
I used it with my own hosting though, because iDisk and all the stuff is fairly unreliable.
You could still use iWeb today. It's going to be hella outdated, but you can use it if you want.
Yeah, no, I decided to switch to WordPress some time ago.
Yeah,
which I think Bruce doesn't like, right?
PC challenge, use iWeb on your G5. There you go.
Rocky's talking to himself. Anyway.
Okay. Next thing in news. 20 years ago, Steve Jobs unveiled Aqua for the first time. And there's a link here, so I'll go ahead and post that.
I got
It's already there. Haha, got you beat.
Oh,
Yeah.
I had it sitting there waiting for it. To be honest with you, I do not remember Aqua because when I first got into Macs, it was actually on Leopard.
Amateur.
No, Leopard was my first version of actually using a Mac. So,
Oh, that's a link from Stephen Hackett. We should have him on Maciac sometime.
hey, we talked about this.
The attention
Remember?
span of
I'm
a
telling
gnat.
you.
Seriously, though.
Somebody
we,
should.
we can get Ken to have him come over.
All right,
We can
let's
even
stick
have
on
Ken
topic. We're going to be here for another hour, dudes. Come on.
So,
his wife is out waiting in the rain to be let inside. Come on, let's go.
So
I remember Aqua. It was, especially coming from OS 9, where everything is. I never objected to the look of OS 9. I kind of dig it, but that shiny Aqua just blew you away. Those buttons and the animations that they used.
It was showing off the graphics hardware that Apple was trying to push at the time, and it was just a huge signal of, look, that was the old Mac OS. This is the new one. It's powerful, completely different. And I think
then Microsoft copied it with Windows Vista.
Oh, well, that's what Microsoft does.
I still love OS 9. I'm sorry.
Me too, but
do
you remember the first time you saw Aqua? How, like you were watching the world in black and white all your life, and suddenly you could see color.
Yeah, that's the reason why I loved Windows Vista.
Okay, I'll give it to you.
I remember drooling over the Mac OS 10 box at the Apple retail store.
Yeah.
And I rushed home and installed it on my iBook, even though I didn't have the recommended amount of memory. And it ran like crap, but I loved it and it looked beautiful.
Yep.
It's version 10.1.
Oh, God, you had 10.1.
Damn right.
Whoa.
Okay.
Boy, my prototype's running 10.0 right now.
All right. Next bit of news. This month, actually, Steve Jobs introduced the first iPhone in 2007. Remember when he introduced it
in 2007?
And
it was they were introducing a phone, an iPod,
and internet communicator. No, internet communicator.
Yeah.
Was what was the word.
Yeah.
Was this something else, Star Trek?
And the only
one of the things I was just going to say that one of the really interesting things about any sort of hardware, this is something that always about, is the killer app. You know, they say the killer app is the software that sells the hardware. So with the Apple II, it was like VisiCalc or something like that. And of course, with the iPhone, the killer app was web browsing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there were lots of apps and they were fun and you could play games, but really the thing that's made people buy the hardware was browsing the web on the phone.
Remember, apps didn't exist until iPhone OS 2.
Exactly. That's why we're saying the app that was built into the phone that was the killer app was Safari.
Well, not only
because the version on the Windows phone that you could browse the web, because I had one. It was a stupid Windows phone in the early XP era. Yeah, browse the web on that. You're going to regret existing in life.
Yeah, and when Apple said they were baby web
Couldn't
browsers,
agree
they
more.
were junior web browsers, and they didn't do everything.
I remember doing that web on a Motorola Razr.
I did it on the Razr too.
You want to try that?
That was sort of fun experience.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
I had it on a Nokia N-Gage QD. I think that's.
Oh, God.
Well, that would have
Tried
been
the
easier
worst.
than using a Razr, honestly.
Yeah.
No,
I never used my Razr.
you try it, buddy.
I used it for Snake. I used it for SMS. I used it for talking on the phone. That's
I
all
never
used
texted on my Razr.
I
did not start
times.
I did not start texting until I got my first iPhone and had a full keyboard, because there's no way.
To another week about old self.
So all right, so next one. Should we even talk about this? Because Grudy's going to talk about 20 minutes on this.
Well, no, it's going to be pretty quick because I just want to see if
You
people
don't do
want to
pretty quick,
actually,
bro.
if they want to see it tonight or see it tomorrow night.
Start the stopwatch.
Let's see. Grudy actually unboxed his iPod by HP and set it up with one of the original PCs set up first time, but he didn't use the actual iPod he unboxed. So I actually
did. You haven't watched the darn video.
Here
Oh,
we
I
go.
haven't. Oh, okay. I need to watch it then, I guess. Hey, I'm a supporter. I could watch it
I
anytime I
actually
want.
unboxed the actual one that's in that box, all brand new, and I set it up. Will you stop timing it? Really?
It's going, man. You better hurry up. You're wasting time.
But the big question I have, because we basically traveled back to 2004 and set it up with proper software and hardware and stuff. Really?
How can I
But
not?
the big question is, do you guys want to see it at 8 p.m. when it premieres tomorrow, or do you want to premiere it right after the show?
Do it
We can set it
This
up.
show?
tomorrow.
Yeah, after this show.
Dude, if I sit down after this show, my wife's gonna kill me. We already went
It's
over.
up to you guys. The viewers,
Tomorrow.
viewers comments. Do you want to see it? It's going to be 46 minutes long right after the show.
46 minutes.
46.
It'll
Yeah.
be tomorrow by the time it finishes.
I just put the link to it in the
Okay,
video.
I have a question for you, Grudy. How long is it of you actually just talking about it before you actually do anything?
About 4 minutes, I think.
No,
That is harsh.
It
That
is
is
harsh,
harsh.
but it's true.
Wow, Greg.
I think tomorrow's getting the vote.
Everyone's saying tomorrow. Okay, well, it's set up for tomorrow. There's the link to it. So when you want to see it, there it
It
is.
needs to be in the afternoon unless you want me to.
It's going to be at 8 p.m.
Boss.
Eastern time, Rocky.
Okay. All right. Last bit of news is.
A minute and 30 seconds. Not
All right,
bad.
come on.
Yeah, could be worse.
Last bit of news is Charlie tried to fix his Macintosh 2 Live yesterday.
Oh, why are we talking about this now?
You're the
I
guest,
don't know
so.
who put that in,
But
Okay.
I did not watch it,
Like to
but
torture guests.
I think I was told that unless I like to see somebody torture a Mac, then don't watch it. That's
Damn.
Oh,
I mean,
Greg
that's
is
I am.
There's the review right there.
That whole stream was a mistake. Steve watched the whole thing. I'll tell you that. Steve, you watched.
Steve wasn't the only one.
I watched almost the whole
Let's put it
thing.
this way: they were watching it and they were commenting in our other chat.
I was praying the Macintosh would not be harmed.
Yes.
Oh,
So
I'll be honest.
you-
I had to walk
you
away
learned.
at some point. I just
You-
couldn't do it.
It's
Yeah.
all right. Valuable lesson was learned.
Let's just blame your soldering iron.
yeah, we'll blame the iron. I mean, as
Yeah.
Jay likes to describe it, it's basically the soldering iron, the Wi-Fi is soldering irons. It's
I have to admit, I felt very bad at the end of that when you put the holders onto the holes of the original batteries, because I already knew that they didn't fit.
why didn't you tell me?
But I thought maybe you've got different holders to the standard ones that I had.
I thought I did.
But maybe, I maybe should have said something.
Like he knew the train was about to derail and crash and cause a car.
And he just got his
mouth
popcorn.
shut.
But yeah, as I say, I did assume that they were different holders, so I wasn't actually being deliberately horrible.
I mean, you could have maybe mentioned that you.
I probably could have.
holders
I could have said
were-
something like the holders I bought didn't fit.
But what
I
would
could
the
have said
fun
something
be
like
in?
that.
But what would the fun be in that?
They saved us 45 minutes.
We're all terrible people.
Yes, we're all gonna burn in a
Welcome to
special place.
Backyard.
That's the tagline for Backyard, right under the logo. We're all terrible people.
Come to our Discord. We have
Just the
channels to
roasting
help
of
you out,
Charlie
where we
trying
will
to
help
fix
you out
something in
whenever
his
it
life.
suits us.
And now we're never ever going to get another guest ever.
Nope.
No, we gave him good advice, and he was a very smart individual. He decided, I don't have the tools right now. I'm not going to hurt this machine. And that's exactly what we talked about earlier. So I look forward to him getting the proper tools and doing
Yeah, I
it.
want to
Yeah.
see him do it properly.
Well,
Like some people
Grudy, you should not be the one saying about doing things properly.
Yeah,
Hey,
because
you
some
don't
people
see
just
me
don't
live
get it.
streaming
They
this
keep going
stuff,
for
do
8
you?
hours, so
No,
I
but
know
so
I'd
bad.
screw it up.
well, you screw it up even when you video it. Come on.
Exactly.
Oh, boy.
yeah. See, this is usually the time we're on Discord when we start ragging on each other. So
Yeah,
you know,
it's better moving
Yeah.
along.
Yeah. All right. So last but not least, we got Steve's Archive Adventures.
And this is going to be real quick. So, I
I'm
was
gonna
made
time you
aware-
too.
I was made aware of a website called applearchive.org, and I'm putting it in the chat right now. This is an unofficial Apple archive. What this is a bunch of press photos and videos, some never released publicly by Apple, some scrapped, some in progress, etc., ranging from the 1970s up until today. What is interesting is it's very nicely designed, and it has a thing you basically click through a year, and it has very fun little interfaces with. I'm just going to use my camera here. 1991, 1990, etc. You scroll through here, you get some rainbow apple and stuff like that. You click on each one, and then you get an understanding of what's here. You have a press photo booklet here. You have Steve Jobs keynotes, etc. Now, the thing about this is they're all based with Vimeo and stuff like that. My only concern with this website, although I'm 100% for it, the creator of it is a pretty cool guy. I think this is an excellent idea. My only concern is with all the press this is getting, Apple's going to... That's our intellectual property. Cease and desist. Originally, the story I read about this was that they were planning to have it hosted by the Internet Archive, and say what you will about that, at least that would have been downloadable and would have been spreadable. This, unfortunately, all the videos are through Vimeo. You can't download the videos. They seem to be in pretty nice quality, so that just makes it a shame. The photos are on there. You can download the photos, which is nice, but personal opinion aside, I think this is a great little site. I hope that it stays around, and I look forward to seeing some of the advertisements on here. There is one that I want to note.
Well, hold on, Steve. 1 second. There is always ways to capture video like that. So.
Yes, but not making it easy to do so is not helping the situation when this site goes bye-bye tomorrow.
Yeah.
Anyway, there is an iMac Snow commercial on this that was never released that I thought was interesting.
That's pretty cool.
I can't seem to find it in the search, but
Apple has already told them cease and desist.
Yeah. There's an iMac ad that was never released that essentially shows an iMac DV transforming into sort of like a snow globe into the iMac Snow. And I think that's
cool.
So
I thought they released that though. I remember seeing it.
There was probably still images, but probably never a video of it. But anyway, I think that's pretty cool. Check out the link. The website has a bunch of goodies on there. I'll be looking through it later today.
That's pretty neat. I checked it out.
Before Steve gets arrested, all of a sudden in the middle of the night.
What? Not my site.
Plus, he's probably using VPN anyway, so hey.
By the way, we lost Mike. He ran out of batteries, and I think he ran out of life support as well.
Because
that's the same.
I think this is officially maybe our longest Mac Yak yet.
Yes.
Every time you say that, we beat it. So
I will have to see. Well, I say as of now, it's probably our most longest one. So the last thing we got here is...
We got more?
Yeah, shameless self-promotion. All right.
Oh, yes.
Oh, don't even include me in that one at this point.
Yeah. So what are you guys working on? What you got coming up?
I have a few. So I have a couple projects I have coming up. I have like maybe 3 or 4 videos coming out on new computers I've had that I've done videos on before, just like boring unboxing stuff, but like not actual videos. For example, I still have to upload the Macintosh LC repair video, and I have to recap it and everything. I still have the I got a Duo dock recently, and I have to upload a video on that too at some point. And then I also have to finish the Mac 2 repair video. And so that'll come up too at some point, but I'm not sure when. And I'm trying to come up with like a new video style, because I've been having some criticisms on the way I do my videos. So I've been thinking of ways to like improve it, make it better, less boring, just more action, interesting stuff, and make the narration more clear and stuff. Cut out all the boring stuff and things like that. So.
You mean like sending Steve your Duo dock?
No, Steve.
No. I have my own Duo dock.
Maybe I'll send you some boring packing lists or warranty cards, but no.
I'll gladly accept those. Pack them in with the board, and I'll recap it for you too.
All right, maybe. I'll send you the Duodoc 2 official packing list.
Yeah, and the power supply, that's going to be needed to recap as well.
All right.
Did we lose him?
No. I
okay.
think we did lose him because he's froze.
Moving right along.
All right. So, Bruce, what do you got coming up?
Very quickly. So yesterday I did my very first live stream. Thank you to everyone who. Thank you. Everyone who
rocked it,
persevered.
dude.
Oh, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. I do plan to have more live streams in the future, so look out for that. And it won't all be recapping, but obviously, if there is anyone who is interested in recapping. And starting it up themselves, and if they jump online and get into the chat there, I'm quite happy to answer any questions you have. So,
awesome,
cool.
Anybody else got anything going on? I know Steve's got the endless live stream recapping videos, but
and recapping till I die. That's it. That's my life from now on. Mac 84 is being renamed Recapping 84. So there you go.
Well, other than the episode 6 of the iPod series, I'm also going to be doing episode 7, which is the classic upgrade with the 512 gig flash. And I'm going to start working on the aluminum minis and stuff, too. Oh, and another 2011 video for the iMac. So that's why I'm going to be.
All right.
What about you, Jay?
Well, I have a picture that I'm currently sending to GT. I don't know if it's too much trouble to put that on the stream.
You're going to make me do this.
Oh, come on. Work for your money.
You're not doing anything useful.
Apart from the stuff I mentioned last week, I still have Steve's Xserve power supply to recap. I have a firmware password to remove on a board and some stuff to do there. The biggest thing I'm going to be working on, since this is the Power PC Challenge week, is I'm going to try to make use of a few more Power PC machines in my basement. And I just sent out a hard drive today that will be filled up with material to make that happen.
Nice.
Wait, are we talking cluster?
We are talking cluster.
Nice.
Dude, you better send me that video information because I want to see this cluster, and I want to see your power company send you a giant bill as you brown out the entire network.
You will see all of that if you subscribe to Jay's Patreon.
Damn right, you better be subscribing to his Patreon.
Tier 20, which is about $300 a month to cover my bill.
Please brown out my neighborhood tier.
Yeah, I also have to. I'm still waiting on Amazon to deliver this. I got some really ginormous deadbolts for the basement door because once I fire this up, my wife is gonna try to bust down there and kill me. So once I can install those and I get this hard drive back, I can get started
Rest
on
in
some
peace, Jay.
fun stuff. Yeah, thank you.
Nice knowing you.
Yeah,
all right.
thank you.
Anybody got anything else before we wrap this up? I take that as a no. So, guys, I appreciate you guys watching tonight. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And make sure you hit that little bell icon with all notifications.
Mean both the bells, apparently?
Yeah, there's two bells
Yeah,
now.
there's two bells now.
Make sure you hit the one that says all notifications. We only send out the notification when we go live, so you guys ain't going to get inundated with a bunch of crap on here. So
it's like
because we don't do anything else but go live. So.
Exactly. That's the only thing we do on this channel. So you're going to get one video or one alert a week. That's it.
On Thursday,
Yes.
you know, if it's on Friday, somebody has scammed our channel.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, everybody that was complaining about the 5-minute loading screen, that actually works to our advantage because it actually lets people start chiming in after they get the alert. So
you don't like it, mute it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Steve made it. He made it for our anniversary show, and I actually trimmed it down just a little bit just to take off the anniversary part. But it's a perfect intro video. I like it.
I think there was just one person complaining about the intro screen.
So,
we need a little time to get revved up. And
Exactly.
ready.
Yeah.
Most
we
of us
definitely
don't
need
even
it on
join
this
the
side.
call until like 5 seconds before
Yeah. Exactly. All right, guys. So we're gonna say goodnight, and we will see you guys next Thursday. Same chat.
And
Yeah,
some of
guys.
us might be in Discord audio. So
I'm
just
not.
be.
I'm probably gonna go to bed. I got to work tomorrow morning.
See ya.
So we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Everybody.